Let's get him on the screen here. Just give me a second, and there we go. Hey Nick, how are
Hey, hey,
things?
hey, what's happening?
How are things in the States?
Things are going well in the States. Can't complain. Sunday morning, it's sunny outside. And
Awesome.
I got permission to hide out and talk gear for an hour more, which is,
All
it's a
right.
good day, right?
It's a good day. Nobody's yelling in the house. Things are under control. That's a good Sunday for me too.
It really, really is. Really is. Just checking the stream to see if we're actually going out live.
Yep.
Cool. Yep, we're live.
We should
Nice.
we should be. So I just wanted to say thank you for taking the time to join me on the channel. I'm a big fan of yours. And I've been watching Nick in the States for quite a while, and we have a lot of parallel things that we like to talk about. So you always captivate my interest with one item or another, either a guitar, amp, pedal, or whatever, or the Chinese, the Chipsons, or
The chips and the bad stuff. Oh, thanks, man. Likewise, though. It's
oh
funny because when you look at our
yeah,
channels, it's very similar size and very
yeah.
similar focus, right? It's pretty cool.
Exactly, exactly. It's a lot of fun, and I think we have the same addiction, so it's good we can have this support group going and keep each other in check.
Except, except unlike other like your classic 12-step group, this is where people go and talk that just generates doing it more. But it's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
It's just fine.
Yeah, exactly. So I just wanted to say to everyone who's watching, Nick and I were just chit-chatting behind the scenes while we were waiting to go live, and we were just talking about a few things that things that are going on, things that we're checking out, and gear that we have, not necessarily in common, but similar type gear, and what we enjoy doing with it. And I was just commenting on how I was obsessing yesterday and comparing my amps, just A-Bing them and trying to figure out which one of the amps, should the need arise for me to get rid of one, which one it would be that would be on the chopping block. And I felt better than Nick knew what I was talking about right away, and he's like, I didn't feel as weird about it because he does it too. So it's like, okay, I'm not the strange one. I'm not the only one that
Yeah,
does
it's not literally our children. So we're picking which one we would save first, and which one, when something comes up,
Yeah,
you gotta know your bench, right? You gotta know who your
yeah,
8 star players are,
yeah.
who that little utility infielder at the end that if you need to pick up a relief pitcher, you gotta know who gets moved. And
That's what
when
it
you have a
is.
bunch of stuff, it happens.
That's true. I mean, there's nothing worse than making the wrong decision. I'm sure we've all done it. I've done it where, you end up selling an amp and later on you get that remorse like, oh shit, I actually like that amp. I should have kept it. Maybe it was the decision was a little too hasty and I should have done my homework a little bit better. So that's the reason why I end up doing crazy
But
things.
also, that dilemma is the difference between collecting and hoarding.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
logically are already making the mental leap of there are things that
That's
will
right.
leave,
That's right.
which allows your spouse to look at you at least with some degree of sympathy.
Yeah, I
At
guess.
least me. When she sees some stuff goes out, she's like, okay, this
Yeah.
isn't the end of the world.
Yeah. She doesn't really know that all that stuff that goes beyond the scenes, behind what's working, the little scroll in my head. So she doesn't really. It's not her area of concern. So she's whatever. As long as it keeps me busy and out of trouble, that's all she cares about.
Exactly. She knows where you are. You're downstairs.
Exactly. So I want to say good morning to a few people that got up nice and early and joined us on the channel. Quite a few familiar faces. So we have Dorothy in the house, Fat Philosopher, he's always here. ZD351. It's a new a name I haven't seen here before. So welcome.
Oh, he's a good dude. I've known him for a while. I actually met him through Shane from In the Blues' channel. Great guy.
Awesome, nice. And we have Jay Coulter 43. And who else? So of course we have Alan. Alan's been here quite a bit. It's 3 p.m. in the UK, so he's giving us the heads up. I guess if it goes too long, he might end up leaving. But Dan in the Unknown, he's new too. Tim Buku, he's been around quite a while. Cool Tunes Made Easy, good morning. Christopher Thomas, good morning. So a lot of familiar faces. I'm glad to see everybody in good shape this morning. I'm still in my COVID cave, as I call it now. This is my bunker, So this is my happy place. If anything should happen, I want to be down here. But yeah, so there was a couple of incidences where things got a little bit hairy, and I'm like, if I have to isolate this, I'm gonna be down here. It's like I'm not gonna be in my bedroom where I have nothing to do. It'll be down here. It'll be fine. So
that's good. See, for me, this is my studio guitar storage area.
Yeah.
And what you don't realize is if I put my I have pants on. They're shorts. This is the end of my bed that my foot is resting on, so I can hide out here, lock the door, and I'm safe. I can sleep and play with all my gear.
So all you need is like a little fridge, right? A little fridge.
All I'm missing is the fridge. I could probably
couple
ditch
of
the
beers.
barbecue drawers of this dresser that I've turned into my hobo studio.
Yeah.
And put a fridge down there, and then it's the most perfect piece of furniture ever.
You get one of those Marshall, those mini Marshall amp fridges that they sell,
exactly.
and you're ready to go.
I've had many moments of weakness when I walk by those in Guitar Center, and I was like, No.
Yeah, me too. They're pretty cool, and they're a little expensive, but I'd get one if it was a little cheaper. If they have a sell through or something like that, I'd probably grab one just for the hell of it. They're pretty cool. So it's all good. So Nick, just give us a little rundown. I mean, for the people that don't know your channel, that are regulars here, just give us a rundown on your channel, and invite them to come and check you out. I'm sure.
Sure. Yeah. So Nick in the States, my channel is focused on inexpensive quality gear. Right. One of my mottos is I have more gear than talent. I tend to accumulate a ton of gear.
Yeah, same.
And it's fun, right? And I'm not the world's best guitarist. I don't pretend to be. I strive to always be better. But what I love is the hunt for quality stuff that's cheap. I've got some really nice expensive stuff. I've got more Gibsons than I probably should have. A couple PRSs, all that stuff. But the story that I was telling a friend of mine before was that SX Telecaster behind me, T-style guitar with P90s.
Yeah.
I got in and it was $130 US. With shipping, I bought two guitars, so it was $140, $145 US. Came to me, I unboxed that. I did a live stream last week and unboxing it, and I grabbed it and I played it, and then I grabbed the neck, and then I grabbed the neck, and then I grabbed the neck, and I was like, this has got a great neck.
Yeah.
Like, wow. And they didn't used to. I've had older ones of those. And so I'm like amazed by this thing that this great neck, and then I played it, and the P90s are excellent too. Like really, it's a great guitar. If I had spent $1,800 on a brand new USA Fender, and came home and played it, and gripped that same neck on the USA Fender, I said, okay, good neck. No, pickups are good. No, electronics are good. Yeah, it's a good guitar. And that's the difference is when you find the diamonds.
That's it.
It's more fun.
It makes
and then if it's crappy, it's relatively easy to go relist that for $100 somewhere, and somebody else will go buy it.
Nick,
right? Like it's low risk, high reward.
Honestly, Nick, I mean, for the price you paid that guitar, you can't even buy the individual parts to build a guitar. So even if you don't like the guitar, you can part it out, keep the body, and do something else with it. And
that's the truth.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know how they're building these guitars so inexpensively. Obviously, it's the labor, obviously, but still, I mean, when you come across a guitar, like, a Telecaster body is a Telecaster body. I mean, there's not a huge difference between an expensive one or a less expensive one if they're painted. Regardless of the wood type that they're using under the paint, it doesn't matter. If the neck feels good.
Remember, right? The magic original Telecaster was made of pine.
Yeah.
and pine. For people who aren't up to date on their tone woods, it's kind of the slummiest of tone woods. It's soft. Screws will eventually impact it and loosen. Yeah. And that was the magical formula. It's a very forgiving formula, I guess, is the point of what I'm saying. Yeah. Alder, pine, poplar, ash.
Yeah, they chose it because it was easy to use, easy to carve out the routes and everything else. But you know what? I've had a Squier Classic Vibe, which is also pine. Great guitar. I mean, it sounded great. It played fantastic. I had no issues with it. It was a keeper for a long time. I ended up selling it because, like I always do, it's on the chopping block, and there was something else. But I mean, I wouldn't hesitate getting another one. I'm sure a lot of people out there that have tried the Classic Vibes will agree with me.
Well, and for a long time, when it came to inexpensive Fender gear, people would ask me, because I did chips and videos, right, Chinese copies and whatever.
Yeah.
I was thinking of getting a Chender, a Chinese Fender copy. I was like, why?
Yeah.
I said, half of the reason why you buy a Gibson copy from China, not that you should, choose your own thing, live in your own moral bubble. I'm just saying, is a lot of people buy it to get the full Gibson headstock. It's not even as much the logo, it's the
true.
Correct look. It's the silhouette, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so you're buying a fake Chinese Fender,
and
you're going to get the silhouette, the headstock shape, whatever. That's a Squier.
Yeah.
And the Classic Vibes are so good, and for 225, 250 US used for one of those Classic Vibes, sometimes even less, you're getting the exact silhouette. All the parts fit, but it's had quality control.
Exactly.
And those are really good guitars.
Yeah.
Those and the vintage modifieds that had the Duncans in them.
Yeah.
Duncan Designs. I had one of those for a long time. I think I was supposed to sell it as part of a March Madness guitar contest I did, where like it was the same deal. I took the 12 guitars that were at the end of my bench and was only going to keep one and sell 11, and I kind of pitted them against each other on the channel. And it got me to sell stuff, and that one, I'll admit, stayed underneath the bed still for another year.
I know, man. It's the same. That's the thing. I mean, we were talking about this behind the scenes the other day, and it was like, why even go the Chipson route when you're gonna buy something that you don't really know what it's gonna be. Sure, they're gonna show you pictures, but at the end of the day, a lot of those pictures are grabbed from like other websites, and it's not even what they're selling. You're going to get a guitar that kind of looks like a Chipson or whatever, and no quality control. The frets could be bad, the neck could be glued in crooked and everything else. And then you have no way of like returning it. A lot of them will say, yeah, we take returns, but then it costs you like almost the entire cost of the guitar to try and return this thing. Forget it. So just you buy yourself a Squire, you have the quality control, you have the warranty. Same with the Harley Bentons. I mean, they're still technically Chipsons, kind of, because they're
Chinese or Vietnamese. I've heard someone was telling me today that Benton was doing, I think, Vietnam as their primary plant, but I think that they're bringing all of it back to a different plant in China for whatever reason. So it'll be interesting to see if that changes anything. But I think that they're very happy with that new plant in China that was doing everything.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, they're the same thing. They're a copy that goes that way.
Yeah.
Fender just screwed up and didn't trademark the shape and the headstock shape to do it. At least they didn't get the same protections that Gibson's litigious band of lawyers have fought very hard to protect for them for a whole long time.
Absolutely.
These guys get paid well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just looking at some of the comments, and we have somebody saying that 95% of the difference between a good Strat and a Tele and a bad one is the setup, and I couldn't agree more. I mean, how many times have you stepped into a store and just take something off the shelf? It could be $1,900, $1,500, $2,000, and you're like, yeah, it's like not they're not tuned. The strings are like almost half an inch off the fretboard. There's buzzing everywhere, and it's like they expect to sell these guitars, but like the setup sucks, And
especially if you're newish to playing guitar and you don't realize, right? The first thing on a cheap guitar that needs to be replaced is the strings. Right away. Like, take them out because you're going to be out of tune every 5 minutes because the cheap strings stretch. Then getting a proper setup so the guitar doesn't fight you. I had a cousin that was playing a Yamaha acoustic that had been around many summers at the cottage with heat and cold and whatever else. And his action was like half an inch to 3/4 of an inch high.
Yeah.
And he's trying to figure out some songs that go up the neck and having trouble. I'm like, no kidding.
Good luck.
Like, that's impossible. You can't do it.
No.
Years ago, I bought, you guys may know Agile guitars. And Agile originally back in the day had accurately shaped Les Paul copies with kind of a slightly different open book headstock. And I obsessed for 8 or 9 months and saved my pennies and spent like $300, which at the time was all the money in the world I had, and bought this beautiful quilt top Les Paul copy that played all right, but the intonation was off and it had a buzz at a fret. And so I played it once in a while, it was that, and then I got a Michael Kelly second.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Kelly, when they first came out, had a dealer network that was coming up to speed but had agreements, so they couldn't sell direct to the public anymore except for seconds. So they sold a lot of seconds on eBay that were not seconds.
Right.
They had to pay the light, keep the lights on and pay the rent.
Sure.
And that came, Tone Pro's locking bridge set up perfectly, and I never touched that other Agile again. Never paid to get a setup, didn't really like it, sold it, and then years later they changed the shape, and I was like, I really wish I had that back.
Right.
And to take care of it.
Yeah.
Now, the irony of the story is I have it over my shoulder here in a case, and I bought it back unknowing that it was the exact one that I owned until I went back to photos.
Oh, that's cool.
And the person never got a goddamn setup.
Same. It was still the same.
Processed in the same spot.
That's crazy. So that goes to tell you how many people actually realize that how setups are so important. I've picked up guitars. I've been to you'll see a guitar listed on Kijiji or whatever, or your local Craigslist, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go check out this guitar and see why this guy's selling it, because it's a great guitar. I bought my Zach Myers PRS SE like that.
Great guitar.
Yeah, I love that guitar. So I'm like, why is this guy selling the guitar? And he's not even asking like a lot of money for it. Like, there's got to be something wrong with it, right? So I obviously I want to check it out. And I go there and I see that obviously he's into like some kind of like pretty heavy metal type music. He's got like really super fat strings on it, and the strings are so fat that they're not even sitting in the slots properly, right?
Yeah.
They're like sticking out, and obviously he's got tuning issues because it's like, and I'm like, and I realize like he doesn't know this, right? And it plays like garbage. Like when I was playing it, I'm like,
oh yeah,
it's garbage. But I know like the guitar is good, and I know what the issue is, so I ended up buying it. And it plays like a dream. It's one of my favorite guitars, and I'm like, man, if only this guy realized. Like,
well, it's good though, because what may have happened is he may have sold it later. Then you buy it and go to put normal strings on, and they're flopping around in the valleys.
Yeah,
that's
true. That's true.
Teens on it or whatever.
Yeah. But most.
Or you'd have to learn to embrace B tuning.
Yeah, just it, something like that. Yeah, but at the end of the day, that's the second thing I normally check on a setup is the nut, and I usually end up taking those out, and getting something else. But it's like these are things that you learn eventually as time goes on. So we have another comment. He says, I have a 98 Mexi Strat. It's a fantastic guitar, equal in my opinion to a USA model for easy money. My late 90s Agile, like you mentioned, is fantastic guitar quality on the level with my Gibsons. So what's your opinion on the Mexican Strats? I mean, a lot of people are like, Mexican, no thank you.
It depends. There's a great variance in eras with them when I've had them. So my first guitar was an Affinity Strat, which I think is legally required for 85% of guitarists to start with a cheap Affinity or Bullet Strat. So I had an Affinity, which was fine, and that got me through some stuff. And then I bought a Mexican Strat with a little Marshall solid state amp, a white Olympic white one with a maple neck, for $200 US for both. It's a great deal. It came with a little metal case with a bunch of extra random stuff to kind of really get started and kind of play. And I loved that guitar until I A-beat it and found out the pickups in it were just meh. Mm-hmm. But for a 4-year period, you could buy on Craigslist Mexican Strats for $125 or $130 US and sell them on eBay for $225 to $250. So I bought 9 Mexican Strats.
9? Why not 10? Like, keep it even.
Right. Finally, the market caught up to that inefficiency and no longer was able to do it. But what I found was I loved the Olympic white, and even by then I was like, I don't need another black Strat.
Right.
Because they're everywhere. But I played like 3 or 4 Mexi black Strats A-beat, and they destroyed my Olympic white. So I switched to pickups that made it a little bit better. And then I bought a vintage white, really faded yellowed Mexican, I think a 62 reissue or something. And it was rusted pole pieces. It had seen some stuff. It was amazing. It was probably one of the best Strats I've ever played. So the lesson there is the raw bones are usually good. I think the wood in that Olympic one was just very tone absorbent. It wasn't the most resonant piece of wood, so as pretty as it was, it didn't do it. But you get that with some American ones too. It's just wood. But they're quality. I had a candy apple red Mexi Strat that I borrowed from a buddy of mine for 2 years, and I spent most of its time under a bed. I think I did a couple of comparison videos with it, but it plays great.
Yeah,
and it's a Strat.
Yeah,
it's a pickup swap and a trem block away from being amazing.
Exactly. That's the thing I never understood. I'm like, people shun these Mexican Strats. I'm like, if you know how to set up your guitars and you really don't like the pickups, you change the pickups. It's no big deal. I do that anyway, most of the time anyways. So it's like, once the setup is done, once the pickups are swapped out, and like you said, if worse comes to worse, you swap the block on the bridge or something like that, you have a fantastic guitar for like, a quarter of the money. Like if you buy them, especially if you buy them used. So I'm like, you can buy 3 for the price of 1, it's like, come on. It's a no-brainer for me.
There's a little thing too. If you have a vintage, so if you want to use the whammy bar, the tremolo arm, on a Strat, any Strat, right?
Yeah.
Most people that get it don't realize that most of the Mexicans have all 6 of those screws decked.
Yeah.
So that when you try to use it, it's real stiff. It doesn't flow. Those are supposed to be up like 1/8 of an inch. Just back each 6 of those up.
Yep.
And then you can adjust the springs, and people are like, "Oh my God, it's as good as this." Yeah, because they just decked them, so it didn't become a problem for tuning in the store.
Absolutely. And I don't know if you're like suffering from OCD like I am, but I've done this before where I'll take a couple of similar guitars, and I'm like, okay, I like the neck on that one, I like the body on that one. I'm gonna take the neck, put it on here, and I've done that for like a Blackie Strat that I have, which is one of my favorites now. And it's like I had two of them that were similar, but the necks were not the same. And I'm like, this one definitely has something above the other, and I like put it in there, sell the other one, let's go. I'm happy, It's like
they're Lego blocks, and that's why a lot of people get annoyed about originality. My Clapton Strat is actually a 22 fret American standard neck because I like 22 frets in A and B. I couldn't find a Clapton neck that didn't say Blackie on it, and I've got a 7-up green Strat, so I didn't want to have Blackie on it. But that 22 fret neck works. I love it in the combination that's there. And people are like, oh, it's not all original. I'm like, Clapton's Blackie and Brownie over the years have had 4 or 5 different necks. Jimi Hendrix's Strat, different necks. Found the one, he broke this other one, but loved the neck. One here. The Gilmore's neck didn't come on the Guitar King, but that's why a Strat is so great. It's Legos.
You make it what you like. I mean, the Gilmore Strat had the I think it originally had a Kaler in it or something like that, because you see where it's been filled up in the back of the paint, and it probably was a Japanese body. I wouldn't be surprised if it was. And people are like, yeah, but the Gilmore Strat, it's like it has to be this and it has to be that. I'm like, dude,
No, he's done. He did parts. EMG Actives for a while. He did original pickups for a while. Did somebody else's custom hand wounds. He always sounded like himself,
right?
With some pretty big swings in what he was playing through.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like anyone that says that. I was talking to a guy, God bless him, who was like, oh, ZZ Top, the key with ZZ Top has always been Pearly Gates. And I'm like, sort of. I'm like, the key with ZZ Tops is the EQ profile of Pearly Gates. Yeah. And all they do is apply that to all the other insane fur cover. That's not tone fur. That's not Brazilian rosewood fur that's on the different guitar.
It's mink. It's got to be mink.
They match the sonic profile to another guitar close enough, but it's Billy Gibbons playing 6s and 7s for strings with his fingers in a,
that's it.
In a solid state power section.
That's it. So it really, at a certain point, it's all smoke and mirrors, and really you have to like cut the bullshit and get to the core of it and say, like, guys, I'm not really a snob in that sense where, there's a lot of people that are really searching for that, really searching for tone. And I respect them to a certain degree because, they have that, they really want to get great tone, but you don't necessarily have to buy boutique everything to get great tone. It's really how you apply it and what you do. So it's like, a lot of people feel that if I have to go searching for great tone, I need like an unlimited bank account. And it's not really true. At the end of the day, you can make most things work, and it's just,
and you can how you apply it. It's all relative. We were talking about this earlier. So much of what you perceive you need is based on the thing you have in hand.
Right.
Or when you're comparing A to B. And so you get this law of diminishing returns where you've got a Les Paul standard with burst buckers in it. And you like the burst buckers, but you wish they were PAFs. So then you get the PAFs in it. But guess what? The PAFs vary for a bunch from what the real deal, 58, 59 PAFs. You get that, but you really want a little overwhelmed. So you go and ditch those for some other guy who's following it down to the methodology and the wire and the whole thing, and he's, slaughtering baby something or others to make these pickups. And that's so much more. And you start climbing this diminishing returns. And sure, if you listen A to B, there is a difference.
Sure.
But you have to be climbing that ladder
to realize it. To realize it, And I think that's what goes to what we were saying earlier. I mean, at the end of the day, like, why do you need to even compare? Like, it's okay. I know we all have benchmarks. I'm sure if I ask you, okay, what is your number one tone monster guitar? I'm sure you're going to be able to tell me exactly which one it is in your collection. But at the end of the day, why does my Squier Classic Vibe have to compete with that? Maybe I could just be happy with it because it doesn't sound like that, right? I mean, why do you need 5 or 10 guitars that sound identical? Like, that's the reason why you appreciate them. So, it's a little bit of that obsessive compulsive thing in us that, we have to always reach a certain level of tone.
Well, I think it has something to do with like the monogamous nature of humans, right?
Yeah.
We're trained to have a partner for life and that kind of stuff, so we try to follow the same thing. And guitar is one of those weird things that you can have side dalliances and diversions. So yes, I like Les Pauls or big semi-hollows with humbuckers, but having something with dual sonic pickup or with Gretsch pickups in it, Filtertrons, Stevie Jones, that kind of stuff, it's a whole different thing. And sometimes on a random Tuesday afternoon, that's what you're feeling like going into. You want to jangle, you want to do something, you want a Rick or a 12 string,
whatever.
There's so many. It's just cool.
Yeah. And I think it also goes back to the hunter instinct in us. Like we're always hunting for something better, and we're never happy with what we have currently. And it's just one of those hardwire things. So whatever. I mean, whatever it is, it is. I'm glad we agree. We agree.
Yeah, I know, and it totally is it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the great thing about gear is, A, there's always new stuff coming out. B, there's always old stuff to rediscover. And C, now there are always people that push you in these directions. I think we're just as guilty as anybody for doing that, but that's what makes it so much fun to go and sometimes revisit things that I looked at 20 years ago with a whole different set of eyes than I'm looking at now.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with you. Old Man Zen says it's not about where it was built, but how much money the luthiers were allowed to use per guitar. That's why any Affinity Strat may be lacking in finish, while a Made in Mexico Fender is fantastic. Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, yeah, setup is super important, and that's usually where the the Chinese stuff kind of they cut corners. You see like the fret edges are just like razor blades because they just passed the they passed the level there a couple of times, and it's good enough to go, and that's what it is. But knowing how to set up a guitar is essential if you have more than a couple of guitars. That's in my opinion. Just learn how to do the setup. You save yourself so much money, and at the end of the day, you really do enjoy your guitars a whole lot more. So it's one of those things I think you should invest some time in if you intend to continue this collecting guitars.
Yeah, I know, it's true. One other thing that doesn't get talked about much, and it's not tone wood per se, but it's how much the wood's been allowed or helped to dry out.
Yeah.
A lot of times with cheap Strats, it came out smooth, but it's lost so much moisture content because that tree was cut down, I don't know timing, but a lot sooner, or hasn't been allowed to kiln dry or air dry or lose that moisture.
True.
And really the wood shrinks because it's losing moisture to it. Have you played many guitars that have a roasted neck, where they take a maple neck and they throw it in an oven, and basically it gets rid of the moisture and crystallizes the wood?
That's the difference, I find.
Have you played many of those?
I haven't played a whole lot, but I have played a couple, and that's where the difference lies. It's that evaporating of the sap or the moisture within the neck. And
I've got the Henning Poly Harley Benton with it, and then I had for a little while a Strat neck that. It was almost too caramel. The color didn't match what I was putting it on. It didn't really work with the curtains.
Didn't match your shoes. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't match his shoes. It was after Labor Day. It should have been white or before Labor Day. Anyway, the point is, it didn't work.
Yeah.
For what it looked. But I will tell you, I had each of those guitars. I've been through some season changes with dry whatever, and not a fret end, not just a stable neck.
Yeah.
And they feel. And I don't know make sure the finish on them, who knows, but they feel slightly different. Like the maple's taken on a slightly different texture to it than a normal one. I really dig them.
Yeah.
I think it's really, really great. I bought the Ague Fish signature model from Harley Benton that may never get here because it's been lost, and it's been over a month of it might have left Germany, but it definitely didn't get into New York City. I was bummed because that had a really nice flame maple. So is that another fusion, or is that a different model now? No, so he did his own take on a Les Paul shape that isn't the Harley Benton standard Aria Pro 2 looking one that they've been doing for the last couple of years. It's more of a pretty standard Les Paul with a sharper cutaway. Okay. And a little bit more access. It's like a purpley ash cap. Okay. So you get the purple, and then you get the deep grains in the ash, black kind of stuff like that. Yeah. Nice. I believe in mahogany back, but the flame maple, roasted maple neck. I think the pickups are Roswell, which are pretty good. But he was like, "Listen, they're great enough, but if you're gonna want to switch them, it's a perfect thing." And they were like about $500 shipped to here. They only made 350 of them. Yeah, that's pretty good. So I was super excited. I'd known Hunter. I posted my video within a couple of weeks or months of Hunter posting his first video in a Chipson forum when we both were kind of enthusiasts in that 1,000 years ago on CGS, China Guitar Skeptics, old forums. So I've known him forever. So and this kid works hard, great player, funny guy, Yeah. He plays a certain type of music in his demos, and if you like it or you don't, but he's really high quality, and it was just awesome to see him get it. Henning Poly, why have it? His is it's a good guitar, but also Henning was really great at putting me in touch with Toman and kind of showing me some of the ropes early on in my channel. So it's great that they have a saying, those are people that it's more personal than like I got a Richie Sambora signature Strat.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah.
For me, these are like friends of mine that it means a lot to have these things
Sure.
to show support, but also that's part of the journey. That's
yeah, absolutely. One of the guitars that I was actually eyeing on the Thomann website was the so they have the double cut, like the junior style double cut and single cut guitars, but they have like the color which is kind of, it's supposed to be that TV yellow, but it's not really TV yellow.
They call it the angry mustard.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever. It's some marketing guy came up with that for sure.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they had another one that was advertised by another YouTuber, which was supposed to go in production, which was just basically, it had a like a transparent matte finish on it, and it was like a reddish finish. Yeah. That one looked really sweet. I'm like, if you're gonna get...
that was Andy, the Guitar Geek. Andy's one of the nicest guys going. He's doing a lot of work with those guys. I've chatted with him on and off. Over the years, and it's got it's a satin finish all over.
Satin
it's
finish.
Transparent cherry.
Yeah.
It's got a stacked humbucker.
Yeah.
In the bridge, so you don't get the noise issues or whatever. And it's got a baseball bat 50s neck on it.
Yeah.
It's what it should be.
It's what it should be.
Formula.
And exactly, like, why end up getting that weird mustard when you can get something that looks like unique, And I'm like, if this one.
I own the mustard one, but they only had the mustard one when I ordered.
Yeah, I know.
They came out with the Pelham Blue and cherry. They have a bunch of different fun colors. I think this year, not to make it all Harley Benton talk, but this year it really seems like they've embraced color.
Yeah.
Like they had a very standard, a few options, really good delivering what they did, but they're adding more spices,
which is good,
throughout it. They've got their Strats have now like a foresty green, a shell pink, Pelham Blue, something else, Pelham Blue, what's vendors? Lake Placid Blue. And so they're really doing that, and that's what's fun. That's why a lot of people go to Grote, Chipson's, pick whatever you want to call the thing on eBay this week that's a Chipson factory throwing Maestro on a headstock or a dumb thing.
That's it.
It's because you could get Purple Burst, and you could
get whatever you want.
Crazy fun things.
Yeah. And on the flip side of that is like, there are some companies that, like, for example, one of the guitars that's sort of giving me a little bit of gas right now is the new Charvels that came out, the DK24s. They're kind of really nice because they're I guess they're competing with the Sirs and the Ibanez and everything else. I mean, they're not inexpensive, but they're still probably one of the more affordable ones in that kind of lineup with those kind of features on them. The only thing about Charvel is that they always have like weird colors. Like if you're not like a fan of like like fluorescent orange or something like that.
If you don't have a tattoo from the 80s that you greatly regret, you may not vibe with this, creamsicle orange whatever, or really pink, or the greens, because it's of an era. They are completely like, we're 1986 to 85 to 89.
That's our zone.
Right here, Sunset Strip. This is what you want. And they're selling to guys our age and slightly older than us.
Yeah.
That was their heyday.
I guess.
That was the one guitar they want from that era. I wish I always had the whatever.
Yeah. I guess so. But I mean, I think they're slowly trying to get away from that, because I see the new lineup. They have a lot of them that don't have any Floyds on them, which is great. They're embracing the flame. The flame maple is really super nice. And they are trying to get some colors that are not that crazy. But like I had a Charvel a little while ago, and I had to buy, like, it was a purple burst, right? They had like purple in the middle with black around it. It was the most subdued color that I could get from them, and I would never buy a purple guitar. But I had no choice, because that was the only color that. And but they make great guitars, and that one is something I've been eyeing. I really like what they're doing in terms of they kind of just play really well. So if you like that kind of thing, it's something that you might want to check out. Let's just go to a couple of questions, because I know there's a lot of questions going by here. Let's see here. Somebody had a comment about Dragonfire pickups here. Pickups are weak in the Strat. Currently, I have Dragonfire HSSs, and it plays and sounds incredible. Again, for easy money. Have you tried any of the Dragonfire stuff?
I've done a little bit of Dragonfire. It's been a while. I've got my buddy Danny has put Dragonfire. Last year, he did like 4 guitars with them as pickup swaps, and I think Dragonfire, like a lot of brands, I think they're all made by Artec, who makes so many different boutique brands. The GFS pickups,
Iron Gear too, I think.
The Giovanni's. There's a joke. So the A Guitar Forum, AGF, the old Agile Guitar Forum. there's a joke that was usually made there because someone always brings up Giovanni. And we always have to say, like, Giovanni. Like, they're relatively inexpensive, quality, cared about pickup, right? It's not just slap together and thrown out. And I'm sure you could find better Duncan's hand wounds, climb the ladder once again, but it's a great, you've got some lousy pickups, and you want to make your guitar better and spend $100 and do a little wiring and do it. Giovanni's. So it all depends kind of on the set, but it's a market improvement. I did for a little while. My life didn't make it easy to solder. My kids were real small. I didn't have a workshop. It was just a pain in the ass. So I was doing Guitar Fetishes pickups with the quick
the plugs,
no soldering, or maybe just the ground, quick thing done, and they were all market improvements on the cheap guitars I was putting them in. Some of them are actually quite good. So they're fun, and it all gets back to, if you have a guitar you don't like and it's got some cheap limp ceramic or even Alnico that just don't do it for you, and then you swap these in and it costs you under $100.
Exactly.
It's a worthwhile adventure.
Absolutely.
To now make that guitar that much better.
Absolutely.
Especially if you're not a guy that's like, I really like the JB bridge, but I need a custom in the neck from thing, but only in a guitar that has a mahogany that was air dried before 1997. Okay, it's not your game. No,
that's it. But then again, you can also go the other route where you say, okay, I'm going to buy some of these, GFS pickups or whatever the brand that you want to end up getting that is budget, and say, okay, I'm going to, I'll also maybe buy some Alnico magnets and swap them and see exactly, what, maybe I can squeeze out the tone that I want to get out of them. And it's like, you don't have to worry about breaking the pickup. If worse comes to worse, you snap the little wire. Okay, no big deal, right? Exactly. So it's one of those things. But have you found any of the budget pickups that you like, that your go-to?
It's the challenge is that most of the good size brands, it's a pickup by pickup. Like there's a cheap pre-wired pickguard or set from Guitar Fetish that isn't even in their higher end. It's just an Alnico set of Strat pickups, and I've put that in a couple of guitars over the years, and it's really brought them back to life. For a cheap guitar that I sometimes, not always, have a problem where if I buy a guitar for $150, dropping another $200 in upgrades or $300 in upgrades, which would actually make the guitar an equal of guitars worth 10 times that. A lot more. Sometimes is a psychological challenge for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I'll go and find a $40 pickup set and try it, and damned if it, especially if it went through again, the point of reference is what it used to sound like to what it sounds like now, I'm happy. Yeah. It's improved. Now, if I were to have an American Standard right next to it and then A-B those two, maybe not. Maybe I would. Yeah. Depends on the year.
Yeah.
So that's where it's so hard because they have these wide brands. So it's like, lately, what I've been doing is a guy named Tim from Buddha Pickups. He sells on Reverb. And Tim's great because I can come with an idea and be like, hey, I want something like a Gibson 57 Classic Plus, like that, a big thing, but it's going to go in the neck, so I don't need a magnet. He'll be like, okay, cool, maybe we'll split it into an Alnico 2 magnet and an Alnico 5 magnet, and and then he's always like, the joke I continually make is he's like the drug dealer in Grandma's Boy. How do you want to feel? It's like all this little... And he has five more questions than you would think, and it shows A, that he cares, and B, that he's really trying to use his knowledge to tailor a pickup. And what's great about... And that's how people probably who call Seymour Duncan up, like Slash or somebody, and it's like, hey, I need a thing for this guitar. It's no label cap. It's got these two things. Duncan's like, okay, I'm going to do whatever, or whoever in the shop. But this is a guy that then charges you $120 for a set of pickups.
I know.
You know what I mean?
I got somebody like that too. I don't know if you've ever tried it. High Order Pickups.
I've seen him in a form, but I have never tried his.
So he's got like a really ancient website. If you look at this website, it's like terrible. And it's like, I don't know how these guys, they should just, I feel bad for him. Like, I want to make him a website, But anyway, but he's got a lot of information. It's really about, information, not the look and feel of it or whatever. But this guy's like that. I mean, you contact him through email and say, look, I need this kind of sound. What do you suggest? And he'll give you this, but not that. And maybe we can try this. And the Tokai Love Rock that I was talking to you about earlier had, when I bought it, one of his pickups in the bridge. It sounded killer. I took it out. I'm like, what is this? And I looked at it. I'm like, and it, handwritten, high order, pick it. I'm like, I got to contact this guy and get one of these for the neck.
It's the best sales pitch ever.
Yeah.
I heard your shit. I love it. I want much more.
I want another one. Yeah. So I contacted him, and he had, I guess he keeps good records, because he's like, yeah, I know that pickup. I have the records here, and I could make another one similar to it for the neck. And that's what he did, and it costed me. It's $100 or whatever, but it's like hand wound to your specs and everything else, and they just sound so big and like 3D and like so. There's something to say about certain people that can wind really good pickups, and he's one of them. So I wouldn't hesitate to give him a shout. And he's never.
No, I might take him up on that and give him the word. It's always good to know, and whether it's not me or I have a cadre of friends and family too that are they're like-minded individuals that go for that. So the next project that if it's not me, it'll be somebody else. Say, hey, go try these. I heard great things about them, and then they'll come back, and then I can. It's just great.
It is, and again, it's affordable. Like the Jalen pickups is the same thing. Like he winds pickups. His claim to fame is that he's the person that's playing guitar for David Lee Roth right now and is filling the shoes of Eddie Van Halen on his Vegas tour, is using his pickups, and it sounds killer. It's so. There's a lot of people that they don't really advertise like these guys. Like this guy you can't get in touch with him beyond Facebook. He doesn't have a website or anything. So like it's really hard to get in touch with these guys if you want to.
Well, it's not their full-time gig too, so they want to be just busy enough.
Yeah.
It's some guys. It's beer money. It's guitar money. It's
right.
Pick a thing, right?
Whatever
it's paying
it is.
for a car in a driveway. It's something along. They're not making millions off these things.
No, absolutely not.
I know Tim works some sort of medicine, something like that, and so like this is their side gig. So they want to be just good enough with good customers that come in the door kind of informed. Like this is what you do. This is how you do it. This is what you should expect.
Exactly. Well, one of the things that I did notice also is that a lot of these budget-friendly brands that make pickups like. Tone Rider. I don't know if you ever tried any Tone Rider stuff. It's hit and miss, but you could land on a pickup that really sounds killer, and it's like, like for me, for my Strats, the Tone Rider City Limits set are great. They're really great. And
are they like a hotter kind of 60s type deal, or
they just have more bite? They're not like over the top hot, but what they do is they have different types of magnets on the bottom and the top strings. So they'll have Alnico 5 mixed with something else, and it just sounds great. It has that really nice bite to it, but it can clean up really nice. And I've tried other ones, and they didn't do it for me. But that particular set I have in a couple of my Strats, and they just sound great. And like it's $125 or something shipped, so it's like
can't beat that.
No,
I've got to go in something. Everyone told me because I wanted to get. I had complained a while back. I liked 57 Classics. I used to put those in a lot of stuff. I've got the Seymour Duncan JB Jazz combo and a few things, or a 59 and a JB and a few things. Yeah. And I talked to people, and they're like, "You really need to try the Iron Gear pickups, which are, I think they're still made by Artec for them, but they're wound to their spec and sold out of the UK.
Yeah.
So I have their Tesla Shark, and Tesla Shark's interesting because if you look smack dab in the middle of Tesla Shark and highlight the middle 5 letters, it says slash.
Right.
So first of all, hat tip to you guys for the cheekiness of having your pickup do that.
Yeah,
right?
they're hiding. There is code.
It's a beautiful thing. That. So I have a set of Alnico 2s that I'm going to put in this SX Callisto Plus, a Les Paul kind of thing, cheap guitar, that has just fine ceramics in it right now. They're perfect. They work, right? They sound tongues. You put it through a Marshall driven, it's cool, but they're just not an inspiring sort of pickup. But I've heard such great things about their pickups, like the Giovanni's of the UK,
right? That
I'm super looking forward to those. But I've heard their Strat set is actually really, really good too, and I haven't heard them at all.
I haven't heard the Strat anything from them, but the Tesla Shark I actually have in another Tokai that I have, which is a Black Beauty type. And I did a review on that where I actually swapped them out and played the originals and then played those. And again, a lot of them, for whatever reason, liked the originals better just because I think they were not wax potted. So they were a little bit more, open sounding, So after doing the test, I'm like, I like the Tesla Sharks. They sound good. But yeah, the other ones were like just as good. So I kept those. They'll probably end up in another guitar build eventually that, they're gold covers, so
Yep.
you can't use them
Yeah, so
everywhere.
it kind of limits where you're going to put them
Yeah.
and where you're going to do it.
Yeah, but I have them as a backup, and I'll probably end up using them. I'm just going to go through some of the comments and say hi to other people that are joining us. So Landon Bailey, greetings from Ottawa. How's it going, Landon? Megman, nice to see you here. He says that he has the Iron Gear Teslas and he likes them, but he says Giovanni sound better, just like you were saying.
Okay, guys, I'm going to be buying some Giovanni. Can't be said it's Giovanni.
That's what it is.
It's like, welcome to Shilliter. My name is Giovanni. What would you like to see this evening?
Exactly. It just sounds expensive, right? That's funny. That's funny. It says, I love gear. I'll be watching videos of you guys talking about gear. I love getting new gear, but I firmly believe the gear doesn't matter at all. Yeah, it's one of those things. I guess you're struggling with your inner self. You want gear, but you realize it's not the end of the world if you don't always have something new coming in. So who else is online? Fat Philosopher also says it makes any guitar sound like crap. I don't know what they were talking about here. I guess they had a little sideline conversation. Dragonfires won't send to Japan. Yeah, that's one of the things that Fat Philosopher has been having issues with. He's in Japan and he can't always get the same kind of gear that you can get from North America. And I think like Shane is also living that dilemma as well and plus he's a lefty. And so
Shane is screwed because he's upside down and left-handed.
He's upside down and left-handed, and so Fat Philosopher is the same. He's from Japan and left-handed too. So yeah, they have additional challenges. So if go ahead.
Quinton was asking if he would change the pickups in a Dan Electro. No, that's the point of them, right? Like it's that package. Of
that's
weird
it.
guitar.
Leave him. I wouldn't do that. Fat Philosopher is also saying, have either of you, I'll put it on the screen here so you can see, have either of you own guitars with carbon rods in the neck? So Kaisel, Sahana, do the necks still need adjusting? I haven't. I don't have anything with carbon in it.
I should say it. I had a Parker Fly Deluxe for 8 weeks once, and I never had to adjust the truss rod in 8 weeks.
8 weeks, yeah.
Those are great guitars. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen a Parker Fly.
Yeah.
What a crazy,
weird shape,
comfortable, fun, but it's a very small, actual physical guitar, and I just felt like I was playing a fiddle. It's why, like, even the Les Paul double cuts are also small, and some of the Ricks are small, and I just feel it's too tiny for me. Yeah. I don't know why, but that's why I didn't vibe with the Parker Fly. Plus, I bought it at a phenomenal deal. So I made $500 at it 8 weeks later. So, but really, really cool. I love the idea. I just have never been able to really put it to the test.
I mean, I think carbon fiber necks could be worthwhile and work really well, but I think if you have a neck that's built properly, you shouldn't have any issues. My Sir guitar I've had for ages, and I don't think I've ever had to adjust the neck on it. So that's one of the things that makes a difference between cheaper guitars and better built guitars. Landon Bailey says, say hi to Nick for me. I don't see him in the chat.
So Landon, what's up, man? I know Landon for years.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why he doesn't see you in the chat, but yeah, it's cool.
I think I just hadn't chatted in the chat. It's hard because I feel like I'm bad if I'm down here and then up here.
Yeah, I get it.
So I'm trying to like stay in the conversation and glance every once in a while to see who I recognize.
Have you ever tried burst buckers?
Tell old man Zen though, I did see your comment about my hobo desk setup. Hold on, sir. Just a while back.
How many of just on a side note, what do you do with these? We all get, as YouTubers, get funny comments from time to time, people commenting about stupidities. So what's your take on that? How do you handle that? Do you bother? Do you...
So I at the beginning of my channel, I replied to every comment for the longest time. Like that was my thing. I tried to build a community, whatever. And I would just say stuff like, oh, thanks for your opinion, dude. And stuff like that. And then later, after a couple just a-holes, it's just, if they're a dink, it's just, depending on how much of a dink, either the comments just deleted it and I won't do it, or it's a block and ban thing, and I just move on. Yeah. I just have to cut it. With that said, my bar is pretty high. Yeah. So if it's opinion and if it's stuff,
yeah, that's fine.
Whatever, man, that's cool. And if you want to make fun of my playing, if you're cool about it, that's good. If you're a jerk about it, different story. My favorite is you look like.
All the time.
Or you remind me of. And I've got like so many dudes that are in there.
Yeah.
Certain days, certain stuff. I'm like, yes, I did look like Tom Green that day. Or yes, there's a guy from Band of Brothers. Or someone comment a couple days ago was, you remind me of the guitar version of Michael Scott from The Office. And I'm like, I don't even know how to process that. First of all, I tip my cap to you for that.
Yeah.
I think it's a little insulting, but maybe, I don't know, but I'm rolling with it. Like, I'll embrace that.
Yeah. It's just after a while, it's like, okay, again. It's like, it's enough with that. Let's get on with the topic at hand. But yeah, if you have an opinion and you just think like, my playing sucks, that's fine. I can live with that, or whatever. But I mean, if it comes to personal comments about stupidities, like why do people even waste their time? Like,
here's at the end of the day, and I'm a firm believer in this, is that when you see that, it's because someone's unhappy.
Yeah, I guess.
And you're just a target to make
so.
them feel better about themselves for a moment.
I guess.
And I'm just like, I feel bad for you. Goodbye, though.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Come again.
Thank you. Come again. But you're not going to be able to type unless you use your wife, kids, or burner account.
Exactly. It's sad.
I try to. So how about you? Because I really actively. It was especially earlier in my channel. It hurt. And that stuff, I would go to record a video, and one comment, I would I'm not going to record a video. Like crap like that stuck with me longer. And at least right now, I'm in a good spot. But I also think I've got a pretty good little community going on right now where we don't have any active agitators in there. So thank you for that.
That's the key. I think like right now, most of the people joining us today are like regulars, and they're really super. And they're supportive, and sometimes they have comments too. I mean, that's fine, but they're not like the detractors or just plain assholes. Where some people are. At the beginning, it would bother me, and I would take every like comment literally. Now I don't anymore, and I'm like, whatever. Like if you have a comment and it deserves a response, I'm more than happy to answer any questions about gear and whatever. But I'm not gonna waste my time, piss fighting with somebody over a stupid comment. It's like,
well, you watch other channels, and not just guitar, around different disciplines, and you'll see them get in these battles.
Yeah, no,
and that's like,
you don't want to do that.
It shows on both sides, right? Like. That means you're itching for a fight or something, so you're just happy someone stepped on that nerve, and it's something. And I'm like, that's not helpful either.
No,
I follow. So outside of guitar, like if I had the money, I would have a huge car collection in a garage with a really huge guitar collection above it, right? Like the perfect magical world.
Sure.
So I watch a lot of car YouTube, and there was a car YouTuber who just felt he was wronged and went off the deep end for the better part of a month. Mm-hmm. Instagram fights and posts and posting saved messages of things where all these other huge channels and stuff. And this is a guy who's doing well from all the outside stuff, from success and cars and house and all that stuff. And you're just watching this, and it's just like, so some people you'll see comment like, you're just telling them all the things that are wrong. But I just look at them with like sympathy of like, oh, dude, you got to, I think from the cheap seats, it seems like you got some crap you got to work out yourself before it's the problem with these other things that are wronging you. And that's why I have not always had this opinion. It took getting aging a little miles on myself and learning a lot of these things to kind of appreciate that.
And the flip side of that is that you do have some guys that actually take time out of their day to actually be very nice and say, hey man, great video, thank you very much. And those are the people that I'm making the videos for. I mean, somebody that are not asking for anything from me, and just like honestly appreciate the videos and think that it's worthwhile. And that's
because they become real friendships over time, because you see them there. By the way, Barry Perry, hi. Sorry I haven't responded on Instagram. Good to see you though, man. Family's good. Life is good.
That's all good.
But those relationships it's a real relationship, and you look forward. John Coulter, I've seen on my channels for eons.
Yeah.
And you post a video, you see a comment, you see they're doing well. It's kind of a bummer. I had this guy Kevin Paul. I'll say his name just because he was great, because his comments were really unhinged in a caring way. He's a very interesting dude. Would leave the craziest comments that sometimes just went off the reservation, but never critically. He just was an eccentric fellow. And it's one of those guys you're 99% sure he was sick. I saw on Instagram. We go back, but he was resident, and he passed away, and I was super bummed.
Oh, boy.
Really, really, bummed that I can do the math on where things ended out. And you're like, crap. And that's when you realize, like, it is a real relationship and a two-way street, more so than probably any other era of of producing a thing and having people consume it where you're not physically in the same space with them.
Right, exactly. And the thing that people have to also keep in mind is that as YouTubers, like we're not like the superstars of YouTube, far from it. And at the end of the day, it takes a lot of time and effort and energy and money to put things together. And we do it out of, well, number one, we like it. We like doing that. But at the end of the day, we also want to give something to the community that is worthwhile. And going off on somebody that's trying to do something good for you and giving you the ability to compare pickups that you normally wouldn't spend money on and whatever. Like why poke the lion? It's like, just let it be. It's like at the end of the day, you're gonna piss somebody off and he's gonna like quit YouTube, and then you're gonna get worse content or less content or whatever. So keep that in mind. I mean, it's
Well, and the other thing that I learned through one single comment that I made is that it's a very diverse participant-based community that we each have around our channels, right? And in many, many aspects of our lives, we would never get along. Rich or poor or cultural or this or politics or but there's this intersection with gear that brings all of these people together.
Right.
And what makes it work so well is we all being good people and chatting about gear. Like we all want to be good people too. That's the beautiful part of this relationship, and you can be empathetic to the differences that are there. I made a political comment in one video, and you immediately see 50 subscribers disappear and this whole deal thing. Yeah. And I was like, and it was the reminder of like, and it was a half joke, but I delivered it real seriously when I went back and watched it.
Yeah.
We've had interesting politics in the States the last couple of years.
Sure,
Leave it at that. But it's a reminder that like there's a nexus, this intersection of things, and so by keeping it as just positive as possible, it allows us to get the most out of the relationship. It doesn't mean that we can't criticize things.
No.
Like we'll make fun of Gibson, but then we'll still hope they get it right.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You know what I mean?
I own Gibsons, and I still buy Gibsons, and I probably will buy some in the future too. But yeah, some stuff that they do piss me off, and I feel like somebody's got to say it. If they see it, maybe at the end of the day they will get it right. But yeah, I think I've seen a couple of YouTubers that I was following that also are doing kind of similar stuff to us, and one guy in particular, I'm not going to name names, but he was doing exactly that. He would take like comments literally, and he would go off on rants. And at the end I was turned off by it, and I'm not watching this channel anymore. So at the end of the day, you got to keep it positive for sure, and keep it lighthearted.
But nobody wants to show up for drama. And here's the deal too: if people want to show up for drama, they burn out.
Yeah.
Like, because hopefully they're out of whatever part of their life that they enjoy going watching drama.
Exactly. Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like
Absolutely, yeah. Well, Paul had an interesting comment here. I put it up earlier. He says, I got a Fender custom shop Strat that came with fret sprout. I deal with 10s, and they do not let more guitars than Fender do with problems. 10s, and they do not let more guitars. I don't get the last part of his comment, but I think overall what he's trying to say is that, for, I guess, a custom shop guitar, and the fact that it has fret sprout. I mean, I don't think, at the end of the day, even with the custom shop stuff, have you owned a custom shop guitar, Nick?
I haven't. I've played a few. At the end of the day, it's wood.
Exactly.
Right? Like, so you can't, even in minutes, it might have aged the same amount as the other one, but from whatever the fibers, the structure, that's the one thing, it was Paul Reed Smith or one of the Fender custom shop luthiers from a video watching, they're like, listen, we can do the most amazing things with this, but we're dealing in an organic material that every once in a while, there's a great video, it's been forever at this point, where a guy, and he's carving a Les Paul, book match top Les Paul, and it's the most, it's like Brazilian rosewood fretboard, the whole thing, and he's doing the final carve on the top of it. There was a hidden knot and imperfection that went through a section. He goes through and there's a hollow little cavity because a wormhole had gone through it. And you could just see the guy was like, every expletive from 4 generations of his family wanted to come out of him at that moment. Wanted to cry, wanted to hurt something, wanted to whatever. And you're just like, because it was alive. It
is what it is, right? It is what it is. I mean, the custom shop stuff I've tried, and some of them feel great. I don't know if I could justify spending that kind of money on a custom shots. It's still a parts kind of thing. But I think a lot of the issues with the neck sprout, with the fret sprout, is the fact that they do a lot of them get rid of the finish because they make it look old, right? And just the fact of not having finish in there will, I guess, affect the moisture content of the wood and the dryness of the wood, and that's when you end up getting the fret sprout. But that being said, fret sprout is not the end of the world. I mean, you can fix it relatively easily, so it shouldn't stop you from buying something like that if you really like it. Like I was telling you the other day, I spent a lot of time. I have a guitar here that I'm working on, my kit guitar that people were asking about.
Look at that!
Well, it's only dyed and sanding sealer on it right now, so there's nothing. But you know what, man? I have a lot of respect for people that build guitars. And after taking the razor blade to the binding and sanding until my fingers hurt, I can really justify the costs of more expensive guitars, and it's like there's a lot of work that goes into that.
Guitar finishing is the ultimate. I call them old man moments. It's when the old guy leans over and is like, it's like 15 times the prep before you put anything down. You're like, shut up, I just want to put this thing together.
I know.
And then you get halfway through and you're like, I wish I had sanded this to 5,000 before I put the stain on, or grain filled and weighted, or used the way that didn't rush it. Because I built a Bulldog Bodies kit.
Yeah.
So same deal, Les Paul set neck. And like, I would love to do a video where I take a guitar that I bitch about the fit and finish of, and then take my Bulldog Bodies and give it to an uninterested party and be like, compare these two guitars, and watch them just trash the one that I go, there's splatter over here. All this other stuff.
Yeah.
That I eventually just, in like any project, at some point you just accept that that's as good as it gets, and that's where it stops, and you're done.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's the same deal where I'm like, it could have been better. It's not bad. And from a slight distance away, it looks amazing, but it's not... what a bad Chinese luthier could do for $100.
Yeah, I agree. And if you don't have the equipment, it's even harder. But yeah, I'm like that. I'm like, I know I need to do like better finishing, but there's a little voice in my head like, come on, man, let's get to the lacquer. Let's get to the lacquer. It's like,
and here's the deal: you got to make dinner too, and don't forget you still haven't picked up the thing that your wife's been bugging you to do. And, so it's like fitting into this.
That's right.
Concept of the rest of your life, but you're like, okay, cut a corner, or I'll still be fine, and then you sand through, and you're like.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And it's at the end of the day, but you learn a lot from it. It's still a lot of fun. It's like building, a model, except it's a guitar. And at the end of the day, if it comes out great, fantastic. If it doesn't come out great, I'm sure you learned at least 5 different things that you shouldn't do next time.
And sometimes you get delightful mistakes. I don't know if I can pull it out easy. I did a 1/4-inch cap flame maple Telecaster body. I bought the body for I think $80 because there was a little split in the alder.
Yeah.
At the bottom of the guitar, so I just grain filled that. It was fine. It wasn't a split in the guitar, just the end grain.
Yeah.
But I sprayed it, and I was using Re-Ranch, does some really great nitro can aerosol spray cans. So I sprayed the whole thing originally with like a heavy amber, so like really thick, and it looked like a giant butterscotch Werther's original candy, way too amber. So I sand that back, and then I go with a Fender neck amber over it. But I splotched it, so I sanded that back, and then I go over again with a Fender neck amber, and I was like, oh, that's good. And then I did a lightly darker edge on it, and I taped off the binding PRS style, picked up the wood, and then the back was an angry mustard kind of thing to make a little bit of butterscotch jelly. What I didn't realize was doing those multiple things, it absorbs slightly darker pigment in that it has the most 3D amazing top. It is the trick of how you get a great top.
Yeah,
that is. I just was doing it by screwing up.
Yeah, that is the key, and I've learned that, and I actually start off trying to do that, but certain guitars like this one, because it's a maple top, maple doesn't really absorb a lot of stain, so I started off black, and then sanded that, and then tried to get like the grain to pop and stuff, but on this type of wood, you don't really have that much, it doesn't really work that much.
And it's hard, black is so hard because the size of the pigment chunks, if you get on from like the dye level, it just can make it blotchy sometimes. So like a lot of times it's like you want to do a super deep red, and then a lighter red, and then a lighter red, and then the final finish is that, so that way you get that, get the giant contrast.
Yeah.
If you ever buy a Harley Benton 550 Paradise series, or if you get some of the Paradise Chibsons, it's basically an amber top with a black dye pass.
Okay.
But the problem is there's no gray variations in between, so you just get either black in the valleys or amber on the top, and it looks like this guitar. Hold on.
It looks like a zebra.
It looks like a zebra. And this guy.
Yeah.
But they look phenomenal on stage.
Yeah.
and on video.
Yeah.
But then you come in close,
And you can
I don't know if
see,
you can
yeah,
see it.
yeah.
It's not 3D at all.
No.
It still looks better in this damn video. It
Yeah.
makes me angry. It just looks like
No,
black.
I know what you're saying. It's also because it's a veneer, right? And the veneer is like super thin,
It
so
can't absorb that much.
they can't sand between. So like normally what they would do is they would apply the black and then sand it and apply another one and sand
Yeah.
it. Because it's such a thin veneer, they would burn right
There's
through
not
it.
enough material,
No.
which is why when you look at what Benton does, other Bentons, the 550. If you look at this one,
Yeah,
and if I move this, and it's because they did a 2-pass with a slightly darker,
That's right.
but in the same family of color.
yeah.
And this is one of the most 3D tops I have on any guitar I
Yeah,
own.
it looks really nice.
It's a good one.
I like
So, but-
I like the Benton stuff. I mean, I just bought myself a gold top with P90s because I don't have a gold top, and it's like it's not the highest one that they have, and there is some flaws in it, but it plays really nice. The neck is really
Yeah.
nice. I'm good with it. You know, it's like
And
it's
you're gonna swap the. I have the first gen, so the Les Paul shaped gold top one, the original one, and the pickups in that were crap. They're really awful. But I still haven't played it much. I haven't swapped them out yet. You'll get a new set of pickups soon, but it's still just great, and it's a Les Paul formula. That's all you need.
for me.
Right?
Yeah, for me, it scratched that itch and it saved me $3,000. You know, it's like I look at it that way, right? So.
It's the truth. Have you ever done the Gibson climb the ladder and gone played a custom shop and then the custom shop True Historic and then like a Murphy?
I haven't done like the different tiers, but I have had people come over that I've sold guitars and amps to that have had like they've come over with their R9s or R8s or whatever it is, and they're like try this, and I've tried it. I'm like, yeah, it's good, but I don't know. I still like my Tokai. It's like.
Yeah.
So it's subjective, but I mean, at the end of the day, there's justification for why those guitars are great, I'm sure. But to spend 5 G's on a guitar
It's
is
the law of diminishing returns as you
Yeah.
start climbing. My buddy Andy, actually I haven't talked to Andy in forever. I need to ping him. My buddy Andy, at one point, was trying to get all of the gear of Jimmy Page's 67 tour, 68 tour. So he had like the Y, I guess, is the hardest thing. The exact same head, the same thing. He has a Jimmy Page custom shop model, and then he has he's both the number 1 and the number 2 custom shop. So
wow.
and so we went there, and because of just how he's wired, he has no problem being like, we just set up shop in the Boston Guitar Center high-end room, and it went from an R7 to an R8 to an R9 to a True Historic to a Tom Murphy aged, and then they happened to have a 58 original Les Paul custom there. And we played all of those for the better part of 2 hours, and this was one of the best days just ever, going back and forth, having an awesome fest. And it was weird. You could tell a difference between the R7, which is a gold top, to an R8, which is a baseball bat neck, and the pickups, to an R9, the pickups, to then the True Historic was a little bit. And I was like, well, there really is a difference, but it was, once again, so slight.
Yeah.
And you had to be in
Exactly.
that room through that
Yeah.
Fuchs whatever amp that we
Yeah.
were playing through and
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, yeah.
And it was just like, oh, it was
well-
for like the most expensive guitar. Well, the 58 Les Paul custom we'll put aside because that was $40,000. But the Tom Murphy age one, I think wasn't that trip. I played the Tom Murphy one the next time with a True Start, but it still was $15K, 12 or 15K.
It's a lot of money. And again,
Huge.
what I always say is once the drummer kicks in, what's the difference, right?
Nothing. I
Exactly.
can play my Harley Benton L450 Plus that I bought a few years ago for $125, and you would not know the difference.
Probably not. I don't know if you've ever done this on one of your videos, but I did this recently just for the shits and giggles. I took my Strats and I blindfolded myself. My son handed over the Strats, and I just played them one by one. And I'm like, I can tell the difference between them. But to be honest with you, it was very difficult. And the reason why I could actually pick them out is more feel than sound. If I had to go through sound
you know
alone,
a couple things that are different, right? This has this tuner versus
or
that.
the profile of the neck, or But if I had to
Holly
go,
versus a satin.
if I had to go through
My,
sound
Lisa
alone,
Love.
forget it. I would never be able to do it through
Before
sound.
the days of quarantine, my buddy Tim, I'd love bringing over because Tim's like a really great guitarist, whatever, but not a super gear head. He's always searching for that perfect guitar that meets a bunch of different categories, so he never really settles on anything. But he's got his like number 1 axe that he plays. But I would love, and I did a bunch of videos where you take 4 Les Pauls, hand it to him, and have him play. As soon as this is done, my buddy Jeremy, who's a really great guitarist, he tried out to replace Zach Wilde in Ozzy Osbourne and made it really far in that. Like a really great player, went to Berklee School of Music. Also, a semi-elitist on guitars. He's got an R7.
Mm-hmm.
He had a custom shop, Zach Wilde. He's got some really nice PRS stuff, whatever. And I really want to put a bunch of guitars in his hand because I had an Edwards, and if anyone's ever played Edwards, it's a Japanese. It's by Edwards is by ESP, and it's their home market Japan model. The one I had is an ELP 98 LTS, so it had a thin bit of poly, then its nitro finish over it. Cherry sunburst, beautiful. Body dimensions are pretty close, and I love that guitar, but I didn't play it. I just have so many, and I knew it was a nice little chunk of $500 to $800 that I could move it for, and I was like, hey, and he's like, I need a guitar. I don't have a lot of money. And I'm like, I'll show you a guitar that's gonna blow your world. He's like, God, Miss Edwards, it's Japan. He's like, yeah, bring it in. Let me see. And he played it and was like, holy crap, it feels just like. I'm like, yeah, no, these are incredible guitars. Yeah. And I had bought that for $500 with a case. Yeah. And it turned out it had Duncan Antiquities in it, 50s wiring, spray caps, all the stuff had also been done that he took it all apart to figure out everything once I gave it to him. But I was like, it spent its time with me. I had fun. I made some videos. I played it. Then I didn't do anything. Pass it on to him, and he's now in love with it. So I want to bring him over and put a bunch of different,
that would be cool.
Japan, Korean, Chinese, Indonesian, all that stuff, and just go.
Yeah, that would be great. I think so. Like when you have somebody that has toneful hands, and you put them side by side, it's like you really can see how much potential a guitar has, even though it's not a big name brand. I've been there. It's
the fun thing to do though too is you have to make sure they all. What I learned in doing this in the past, you have to make sure they have all in the same gauge strings.
Yeah.
Because my buddy Tim liked a heavier string, so everything that had a 9 on it, he immediately thought was a cheap guitar and didn't like how it sounded.
He didn't bond with it.
If it had a 10, he liked some of those, including some of those that were really awful.
Yeah.
But it had a 10, so he still chose it higher. So it's like, okay, I got to now as a control make sure they all have the same
and that
set
is,
of strings.
And that's something that within our videos you never get to see as a viewer. Is like, yes, you can tell the sound to a certain degree, and even though it's compressed by YouTube, but the other aspect of all of it is really just not being able to feel the guitar, which is huge in terms of your likability, right? How much you're going to actually prefer that guitar over the other guitar. So at the end of the day, if you're comparing just the sound, maybe a Squier Deluxe could sound, better in your opinion than a Suhr guitar, but the Suhr guitar fit and finish will blow some other guitar out of the water if that's what you're looking for, and so it's only part of the equation, So
and it's also like how you're. I love a rolled fretboard edge. Play a USA PRS and play an SC, and the SC is still a great feeling neck, but that USA one, it's a little bit comes over more. Yeah. It just feels a little bit more natural in your hand.
That's true.
And that's what I loved when I first started playing Michael Kelly's, and when I got a bunch of Michael Kelly's later. They've got a nice rolled top edge of that fretboard.
Yep.
And it's what it turns out I hated. The Harley Benton TE52, their butterscotch blackguard telecopy, has a very hard edge there. And I just hated that guitar. And I couldn't really articulate what I hated about it. And it was because it was just fighting me that ever little bit. For me, I need the nice little bit of roll there.
That's one thing, like you'll see, like on some guitars, like you're going to be playing a guitar and you're like, why does this neck not feel right to me? And it could even be something as subtle as just the edges of the neck have like a little bit more of a flatter profile to it instead of being rounded, and it's like doesn't feel right or natural in your hands, and it's like we're talking millimeters.
But, and I've fixed some.
Yeah.
Where it's a Mighty Mite Strat neck, and I'll go and just bust out a little bit of sandpaper, and I've got one of those cool T-sanding things for fret sprout stuff, and I've hit that with it, and the amount that I took off was minuscule, like you say.
Right.
And then it was
good.
Was there.
It was right. Yeah, exactly. So, there's a lot of things like that. I mean, at the end of the day, how are we doing on time on your side, Nick? I know
I'm still fine on my side. I don't hear anyone crying or killing themselves in the other room, so I got some time still.
Okay, cool. So we're over an hour, but I mean, we can keep it going for a couple more minutes. Let's try and answer some questions. So if any of you guys, after you've been listening to us jabber on all this time, have any specific questions for Nick or myself, then just definitely tell us what you want us to answer, and I'll see if we can answer some of the questions. Here we have Landon saying, I recall when your channel was a different name. I recently changed mine to my name, Lando27 Music. What was the thought process for your name change? My channel was always called Addicted to Gear. It was never called anything else. So I don't know if maybe you're mistaking me with someone else, but it's been Addicted to Gear for a long time. The only time I actually, I guess maybe wasn't using Addicted to Gear, actually now that I think of it, I wasn't actually trying to be a YouTuber. I was just putting up some videos, coming home and just recording some stuff and throwing it on there without any kind of plan or anything like that. And maybe at that point, yeah, I maybe wasn't using the Addicted to Gear name at that point. But those, like, I was doing a whole bunch of different things, from like guitar lessons, singing, and all kinds of weird things that I regret now. But they're still up there.
It's fun to go back and watch that stuff.
It really is.
Oh God.
It really is. Well, Fat Philosopher yesterday, he made a comment on a video that I put up yesterday, where I made a comment on the Mighty Plug, this little guy, and I said, the clean tones remind me of Andy Summers, and he says, yeah, you gotta play a Message in a Bottle. I'm like, I already did that, and I went back and I pulled out one of my old videos when actually I was teaching people how to play it, and I looked and I said, shit, man, that's like. It's like almost 10 years ago that video, that I made that video, and I sent it to him, and I'm like, yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that has happened over the last 10 years. I can't believe it's been this long.
I go back and look 5 years. I've been doing 5.5 years or so YouTube, and there's a joke in the U.S. and you elect a president and they're 8 years, and you look at them at the beginning of 8 years and the end of 8 years, and they just look harried after the 8 years.
Yeah.
And I look at me 5 years, and I'm like, oh my God, even 5 years.
Yeah.
It's just tough to have just such exact points in time of that's what I used to look like, or, put on a little.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
A lot gray here.
Oh, my God.
Oh.
Definitely. Yeah, the profile has changed a lot over the last 10 years or whatever.
A lot over the last 2 months of living at home, too, more.
Absolutely. So let's see if anybody has any questions for Nick here. Well, there's a general question here. It says, hello, guys. Greetings from Portugal. Pros and cons about low action. So maybe you want to answer this one, Nick?
So for me, in all of my things in life, I'm always about having the least barrier to entry. Meaning, like, I set my studio up so I can come in, I hit record, I play. My amp setup or my Kemper, I use my Kemper so much because I just turn it on, I can throw headphones on and play, and I'm not worried about making anyone else upset. So for me, I like my action low, but not so low that I have to keep the guitar in the most perfect maintenance to keep shit from buzzing.
Yeah.
Because I'd rather have it not buzz than have it just slammed. So I'm probably more tolerant than most, but I have it's funny, there's a sweet spot that I like, and as soon as it comes above a point, then I'm out. I gotta go and fight with it. But I like having a more availability of the guitar than really having low. I have a couple guitars. Actually, I have a 67 SG Junior that was my dad's. And he gave that to me, and that thing has almost no frets left on it. But the action is decked. And it's fun for playing very specific things. And if you try to play that guitar to play anything else,
doesn't work.
Later you're just playing as fast as you humanly can and ripping through stuff. It's a bad influence on your playing in so many things. It's fun. It's fun as all get out. And that guitar stays stable because it has almost no frets anyway.
Yeah.
And it's got a baseball bat neck that doesn't have a lot of variation to it. But other guitars where I've fought to get it just as low as possible with no things, when you fight with it for 3 months to keep it that way, it's way too much maintenance when you have as many guitars as I do.
I agree. I totally agree with you. And I'm a heavy hitter. Like I pick relatively hard. So when it's hard to get no buzzing when you're a heavy hitter like that. So for me, yeah, there's that sweet spot. I tend to be on the higher end of the low action, and I also find it's a lot easier to bend strings when it's not decked like that. So if you're heavy, if you like to bend, then I would say.
Well, if you want to play less expensive guitars, it's going to be way more resilient with not high but not decked, as low as it can go.
I agree.
Action.
I agree. Yeah, totally. Alan has a question. He says, Nick, what's your go-to guitar?
Oh, today.
Today. You have to start off with the word
This is
today.
what I'm playing the most today, which is the SC Custom, which I love. I love it coil tapped more than anything, and I think part of why I'm playing it so often is because the coil tap tones, the single coilish tones out of it, have been inspiring me to write a little bit more. And so I'm using that to try and find different things with kind of clean, reverby kind of stuff in those tones. And so that's why I'm using it so much. The other guitar I've been playing the most is the last one that came in. That's always how it goes, which
Most
is
of the time,
bought a Les Paul Standard a week or two ago. And it came from, the lead guitarist of Remain, A Day to Remember. And what's great about that guitar is it shows you what a pro guitar is like. So all the stuff that was swapped, I think I talked about it earlier today already, it's just pick up, go, and it's still perfect from what they've done, and I haven't yet ruined it yet by just playing it too much or having it out. So it had, once again, barriers to entry. It is perfect. Setup, how I play, everything else, pick up tone, everything, all the little things that bother you, there's nothing on that guitar that can bother you. So it kind of has reminded me of what perfection at a point in time of a guitar is like. And that guitar is just great, and it's got a slash neck pickup in it that is just real pretty to either play loud or throw some headphones on and play, some saturated, great stuff and soar with it just to get away for a moment.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that when you're dealing with a lot of guitars, like setup, like we said earlier, is super important. And it's like, even though I spend a lot of time doing the setups and I think I'm pretty good at it, when you go to somebody that's better than you, you're like, oh yeah, it's like, I understand why I'm paying this guy like $100 today or $150 for this. It's like they go the extra mile and they really do a great job. So finding somebody that can really work on your guitars, if you need it to, and I don't do it with all of my guitars, but certain things I won't bother. Like I'll just bring it to a pro once I hear it, like, change the nut for me or whatever. I've done them before and I know how to do it, but it takes a lot of time. And at the end of the day, time is money too. And when you have like 10 guitars or 20 guitars, you can't be spending all of your time. What was that? I think you need a Ricola.
It must be a cold I'm getting. It's the virus that found it out to me.
Yeah, exactly. So let's say here. This is a nice comment. He says, "Do more of these chats. Great to hear like-minded talking gear. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think we will. If we
definitely.
can. It will be really a lot of fun." And
it's great work when Tony and I have to talk. We've went over the last
bit. We don't have a problem in that department, I don't think.
Not at all.
So Jamal likes your shirt. He says loves the
thanks,
t-shirt.
Jamal's awesome. I've known Jamal for a long time. I had I had a bit of ADD or a little ADHD, a little bit of both. So I was working at an office, and they put me on Adderall for a while, and it turns out I have high blood pressure, and Adderall wasn't great for headaches. But this is a really cool shirt that I did, that all of the photos I went and found, and I made just the guitars and all these famous shots.
Nice.
Color, and I black and white it all.
Yeah.
This was an Adderall, as prescribed, dosage fit of obsession. So, I had it as a background for a while, and I printed out a magnetic sign. It's on my dryer, I think.
Uh-huh.
And so then I did a t-shirt. I'm like, well, at least now I have something really to show for it that I can wear in a thing.
Yeah.
Hours and hours.
Well, it's a lot of fun. It's good. It's also a good segue if you guys are interested in supporting the channel, Nick in the States, and you want to pick up. I'm sure you probably are selling these shirts on your channel somewhere.
Not yet, but I will
not
be
yet?
soon.
Okay, cool.
We'll be putting those things up. But come on over, at least like, comment, subscribe, and I'm sure I'll let you know if I have t-shirts.
Yeah, that's it.
Because your shirts look awesome. Your logo is just great.
Thanks, I appreciate that, man.
For a color, for a thing, for a bit of fashion and style. No, it's really an awesome thing. I appreciate it, because you see a lot of people that try and do. The sexy picture of the United States with my name on it.
That works. I mean, it ties in nicely. I was aiming for less is more, and I didn't want to go over the top. Well, somebody actually made a good comment and gave me a great. I wasn't even thinking of that. I was making a guitar. Modifying a guitar for my son. It was a red Strat, and I'm like, what logo should I put on it? Because I had sanded the headstock and changed the shape. And he's like, why don't you put your logo? Like, just put a little. Mm-hmm. I'm like, yeah, I didn't think of that. That's a great idea. So it's like, yeah. Anyways, if anybody does want a shirt, they're on the channel. You guys could help yourself to them. Yep. Somebody's asking me, I get this question all the time. Where did you get the wall art behind you? I'm looking for something like that for my music room. So the wall art, I mean, it's just a bunch of guitars, and it's funny because I actually have a guitar that is like each one of these different style guitars. I actually have one that fits for all of them, so it's really appropriate. You can get this on, I don't know, like Etsy or wherever. I don't remember where I bought it from, but some ad popped up in my feed, and I'm like, hey, that's pretty cool. And I ended up ordering it, but I don't remember the exact website. It's been a while, so. But if you search Google, you'll find it.
Tony, how are the music shops up? So you're somewhere in the general Montreal area.
Yeah.
How are the music shops in your area?
Not very good. I mean, there's not a whole lot of selection right now. The biggest one in my area that's a chain is Long and McQuaid.
Yeah.
There used to be Steve's Music, which was a lot better before, but the owner passed away. They actually owned a block worth of shops side by side in close to downtown Montreal. And they had like a lot of stuff in there, and it was always great because it wasn't like the typical stuff all the time. But then now they scaled down a lot, so there's not a whole lot of stuff happening. When I walk into Long and McQuaid, it's like I know exactly what I'm gonna see on the wall. It's always the same guitars. You know, good luck trying to find something that has just come out or a cool amp like, you know, Friedman's or whatever. Forget it. It's always going to be the status quo Fenders. You're lucky if you find a Mesa Boogie amp in there. And for guitars, it's mostly Fenders, some Gibsons, and not much else. So they're obviously dealing with those type of companies. I often just go in there for just to get the idea of like get a feel for what they're selling nowadays. But I always come out of there feeling good because I don't buy anything, and I try out the guitars and I'm like, yeah, $2,200. The one I have at home is better, you know, or feels better. So I just walk out and I'm like, I'm good, you know. I just for confirmation, every so often I'll walk in there and buy like just check out what they're selling. I just wish somebody would come up with a guitar shop that would specifically sell like parts, like really actively carry parts beyond like the typical stuff that you get on the little rack near the strings, because so many times I'm looking for different things and they're so difficult to find and you have to order them online, you know. So it's like nobody's really doing that. I spend most of my time going into the secondhand shops actually. There's a couple of really small ones, but they always have great stuff and old stuff.
Well, it's the used. So Guitar Center here is the same way as probably Long and McQuaid. I go in, I say hi to the guys because I know all the guys. I look at the Gibson wall quick to figure out what I need to look for in 3 years.
Exactly, on the used market. Yeah.
That talks it, but I at least make note that in 4 years from now that I need to buy this purple burst Les Paul Standard. Okay, cool. And then I go to the used wall. And I just go quickly do the used wall, see what used amps are there, use pedals quick on the way out, say goodbye, and then I'm out the door. Unless I want to play an acoustic for a little while. And I'm going acoustic, just play.
Yeah. Honestly,
but that's it. Yeah, because we're actually I'm not that far. So as for people that don't know where we are in the world, in my teens, I'm probably 3.5 hours from Tony. In my adulthood, it's actually 5.5.
Yeah.
we used to blast up. We'd go at very, very, very high rates of speed through the state of Vermont and then go over the border and go up in Montreal. In the States, the drinking age is 21. In Montreal, or Ontario at least, it's 18. So that was a very regular rite of passage era of time. And Montreal is also known as a great destination for food. And if you're going on a bachelor party when someone's getting married.
Absolutely.
A couple of years ago for that. And I think I stopped in some little shop. I can't remember where it was. As we were bopping around, but I didn't. It was unfortunately I had other things that we had to deal with during that trip, so we didn't get to do the guitar hunt in town, so to speak.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of. There are some little places, but you have to know where they're located. But you can find some pretty good stuff. To be honest with you, I haven't purchased a brand new guitar in a long time or a brand new amp. My key is just focus on the used stuff as much as possible and just.
Well, then you can get out. For me, so much. If I'm gonna have a problem with too much gear, so much of it is to be able to get out at least what I have into it. I have friends that buy always new, but also have the wandering eye, so then they're always selling it, either trading it in, so 40% off what they paid for it. Actually, 40% off what they can sell for it now, so 50-60% what they paid for it off.
Yeah.
Or selling it, having to hustle to sell to then still take 30-40% less than what you bought it for.
Yeah.
And if you do that over 5 or 6 years, it's an expensive hobby.
Very expensive, absolutely. I'm always looking. I'm frugal. I would normally say cheap, but I'm frugal, and I just look for the deals. If a deal's good, sometimes I'll just grab it, even though it's not something I'm looking for, but just because I know I can flip it later on for at least what I paid for it.
If you've got the money,
yeah,
it's a prettier version of the money that's sitting in a bank account or somewhere else that you can play with, you can have fun with, you can create content with.
Yeah.
And then you move it back along and you move it in something else.
Absolutely.
And it can be a good consolidator. And that's where the advice I give to everybody, they're like, how does your wife let you do this? And it's pretty easy. When we were a lot younger, she didn't work for a year because she went and did an internship, which now gave her the job that she has now, which has worked out really well. But every month or two, we'd go away for a weekend or whatever, and I'd sell a guitar because I didn't have money. Sold a guitar or two to pay for it. And once she realized that there was an asset value to all of this, then it made more sense than, like, if, say, I just went out drinking with the boys every Friday night.
That's right.
And light $100 on fire every Friday night,
right.
Or play golf on Sundays, light $150 on fire every Sunday.
That's right.
There's no leftover value in all that. Where
it's
this
gone.
has something, and if you're frugal, if you're value-based as equal part of it. There's a lot of guitars I didn't like the finish. I didn't like the color. I might not even want the guitar.
Yep.
But I knew that it was 20% light on the used market.
Right.
I just bought it.
Absolutely.
And some of those I ended up loving over time, but I buy it, and I'm lucky enough to be able to roll those things through.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, like, I was just on Reverb before we went on live, and I'm looking at the value of some of the guitars that I have that I bought a long time ago, and I'm like, shit, man, I didn't pay half of that. And I'm like, so they're actually gaining some value. So, the money's still there.
What happens for me, too, is there are certain guitars when I see it, somehow, and I think it's for us, right? We're in the age of the demo of the guitar buyer right now. Both of us right now, because to the age where you got a little disposable income, you also have a long period of time to have developed a sense of what's there. So, like when Epiphone came out with a 3-pickup Rivera P93, three pickups and a Bigsby 3 P90s, or I love the Sonic Blue Blacktop Stratocaster, 2 chrome-covered humbuckers. The bummer is I got into those both cheap, but then life happened. My wife went on an internship, and I sold them then, and I made a little bit of money. Each of those now is doubled because they're both cool.
I know.
And the P93 didn't sound great because it's very cardboard-sounding P90s.
Yeah.
But it's a cool-ass guitar that they don't make anymore, so now they sell more. The Fender Parallel Universe stuff, for expensive as it is, if you wait for that to crash at the low, those will then go and be worth money forever after that. If you can hit that 2 years to 2.5 to 3 year post-release is where it kind of is. It's gone to a sellout, a clearance, a place has tried to move it, it's gone down low, it's at the low, and then it's all up from there for the next 5 years. And that's where you can, if you don't lose money at this hobby, then you can slowly amass a collection.
That's right.
Because you're being smart about it.
Right.
And putting more money in, don't get me wrong, but I've got friends, I grew up near the water on Cape Cod in Massachusetts, and so I have friends that have boats. And I just, in a smallish boat, 20 feet, 6-8 meters. And they, I'm like, what's your boat cost you a year if it was paid off? And it's like $5,000.
It's a lot of money.
$7,000.
Yeah, exactly.
And really, if they tell you, it's like guitars. If they tell you it's $5,000,
it's more.
It's probably 8 or 9.
Exactly.
And so you look at this and you're like, I spent some
okay.
strings and a setup once on that one.
No big deal.
Yeah, so it's better than a lot of other habits and hobbies for me from a financial perspective.
Absolutely. We'll go through a couple more questions real quick and then we'll wrap it up because we've been on for an hour and a half here. But there's some good questions coming in here. I don't want to leave people hanging if you don't mind. Are you still good on time, Nick?
Oh yeah, still doing great.
Okay, good. So here is a question on option paralysis. So do either of you have a problem with option paralysis when trying to pick out a guitar just to have fun with? Not for me. I'm usually
no, it's the other way.
Yeah, that's it. It's exactly. I mean, on any given.
I have gear that has option paralysis. Like I've had to force myself with a Kemper. I live in 10 patches right now in my Kemper. There are 10 tones. That's where I live because if I go hunting out on the internet to go buy additional ones or download them, or in even the 150 in there's an hour of my life gone. And
Absolutely, yep.
So I've kept it down to my limited stuff. But when it comes to going out and finding and buying, no. But it's also, and at least for myself, I'm in a position that when I'm trying to fill a gap, it's a pretty small gap. So either I'm choosing something because I don't have something with the single coil Gretsch pickups in it. I want to have something that sounds like that, or that's whatever I'm obsessing about at that moment is that thing. Or, like we were talking about earlier, I'm just scrolling through Reverb, Facebook Marketplace, eBay listings, and something comes by that grabs my attention for one of two reasons. Either I've never seen that combination of that thing before, or the price is ridiculous, and I got to figure out why. Like there was a Cherry Sunburst Gibson Les Paul that was up online, had 3 photos, not of the back of the headstock. It didn't have fret end nibs, but it had a correct bridge and everything else, and it was listed with a buy now of $1,300 with free shipping or a best offer. And for a Les Paul standard flame top, really nice Cherry Sunburst, I was like, and the guy had sold some stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't, I thank God for Reverb credit. I didn't have the money sitting there then, but that's one that you're like, you know what, if I'm going no interest on the purchase. And so I emailed the guy, I'm like, hey, can you send me a picture of the back of the headstock? And I waited. And I just said, buy now. I'm like, before I pay. I need to see a picture of the back of the headstock. I need the world's like Zapruder film picture of the back of a headstock and something else. And it turned out he was a little dirty. He's perfect. And that's $400 or $500 light with no free shipping and no tax at that point.
Yeah.
Like, those are the good ones. So that's where a lot of my option paralysis isn't that. It's figuring out if I have some. I try also now, if I don't have the money to look, I don't look. And if I don't have the money to look to my friends on like the A Guitar forum or whatever, I don't go on the forums if I'm broke.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. The first thing is to accept the fact that
I know if I'm there,
you're
gonna don't go to the bar if you don't want to drink.
Exactly.
Like, that's kind of the thing.
That's the thing. I find myself often just scouring, like, Kijiji, scrolling and just like looking and stuff. But what I'll do normally is also I have a habit of not only just looking for me, but I have a couple of friends that are kind of have the same issue as I do, and so I'm like, hey, this would make a really cool guitar for this guy, and I'll text it to him, and then he'll like 2 minutes later send me a picture of it in his backseat of his car, like, thanks, man, I went and get it.
The best is when because there's a lot of guitars. My buddy Danny, he's one of the best friends around here, guitar friend, and then my uncle Jeff, who up until recently was for very particular Gibsons and Fender stuff. If I see something and I can't afford it, I'm like, that's an amazing deal, but I can't do it. It's just 3 people down the list, and that guitar is almost always sold.
Yeah.
Or they had the shop down the street is kind of rough condition. If you've ever seen a Fender 6, it's a Fender Super Pro Reverb or Super Reverb or whatever, but with 6 10-inch speakers in it.
Crazy.
And it was there for like $800. And I didn't know the manager, so I'm like, what's the bottom? Because who's going to walk in and want this, first of all? It's amazing, but it's a very specific person. It sounded incredible. Everything worked. And he was like, I can do it for like $700, something like that. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, I could never wheel that into my house.
It's
my
huge.
wife would shoot.
Yeah, no kidding.
I had previously called my buddy Danny on a different amp there, so I knew he was out. So I called my Uncle Jeff, and I'm like, hey, they got a Fender 6. It's like the wall of reverb. And he wanted something that he could, because he was playing like county fairs at the time.
Right.
He had a JCM 900 full stack. And he wanted a Fender amp he could put next to that would hold its own from a look, but also have all the clean Fender stuff and it'd be back and forth. And he's like, done. He's like, can you pick it up? I'm like, nope.
Too funny. You need a truck to pick that thing up, yeah.
So he drove up, grabbed it, and drove it back down. But yeah, no, having the friend to pawn off those other ones, because we are in the unique, if you obsessively look at gear through all of your free moments thing, you know the market. You know the gear, you know what to look for, you know where things are, and you can immediately kind of pick out these ones like, oh, crap, look at that.
That's it. You know it's going to be a good buy regardless of whether or not he's going to keep it long term or not. And at the end, even if he flips it, it's fine. You see, he's not going to lose any money on the deal. So it's better to go to your friend than someone else. At least maybe you get a chance to try.
Family or whatever. My buddy, they had a Fender Duosonic with the case, a neat little Mustang-ish looking thing, with 2 Fender noiseless Strat pickups in it. And it was $200 with the case. And I was like, Danny, I don't want that, but I know you like offsets. And Danny bought it, and then you know what? 2 years later, he sold it for $350.
There you go.
Like,
yeah,
that's how you play the game.
It's pleasure. You get pleasure in the meantime. It's a fleeting moment of that. The endorphins going off in your brain when you have that guitar or that amp in your hands, and that's what it's all about. So Fat Philosopher wants to know how long it takes to film a typical video. That depends. Are you talking about the videos where everything goes well? or are you talking about the videos where you accidentally corrupt a memory card, or your daughter's yelling upstairs and it's, or your dog walks in, or, whatever, or your computer's not cooperating with you and it's tremendously slow, like I'm dealing with right now. It actually takes a lot of time, more than you think, especially when you're doing comparative videos. For me, I don't necessarily like recording videos where I need to like record the sound, because it's a lot more effort to get a good tone, and I could like spend an hour or even more trying to get that right sound before even recording the video, and at the end of the day you might still not be happy with the sound. So you'll see in my videos I'm in my element when I'm actually reviewing guitars, and I'm giving you my opinion of the guitar. And oftentimes people are like, yeah, but why don't you play the guitar? And sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It's just a question of time. This is a question of like how much more time it takes to put the video together. And between shooting the video, editing the video, uploading the video, and everything else, it takes like easily a whole afternoon, if not more.
Yeah, I think the rough number is, if you look for every minute that you see recorded, it's probably 20 times that in actual effort. So it's a 12-minute video. It's really 240 minutes of effort. And that's not including like sitting on the toilet, scripting out in your mind, kind of hiring the sequence and organizing the thoughts, or jotting down notes in a Google Doc to do it. It's probably 20 to 1. And that's relatively sane. If you go to some other people's channels, it's 30 or 40, because they're doing a full produced track, multi-camera, like if you see Henning or Hunter, that kind of stuff. There's just so much more, even more to what they do. It's a full-time job for those. For us, it isn't. We were talking before, and this is why we're both massively envious of Steve from Boston, who somehow has mastered the one-take video.
Yeah.
He's got the perfect setup to do it. He's got the chops to do 1,000 different things. And the dude, just for the most part, hits record, does his thing. He's very eloquent. He goes through his thing.
Upload.
To his house.
Yeah.
And then he's done. And you're like, so your 25-minute video that would take us a day and a half each to do, it took him coming downstairs, going to the car, set up, whatever. And playing. Now, I'm sure there's 2 hours of real life in there too, but it's a lot less because he's worked his system, his channel, and his personality to drive his thing in a very certain manner, which hats off to him, because it's great, but it's just like, M-effer, that guy's got it.
I wish it was that easy. It would be great if we can do it. Eventually, maybe YouTube will get to the point where you can just have your camera, and just go live and do the thing live, and everything is. But I mean, it's not always that easy when you're doing comparative videos like that. So we have a question here. I guess somebody's probably wants to get into YouTube or is already in YouTube here. Do you guys think I should change my name in order to attract more following? I'm Albanian, and I'm sure people have a hard time to remember it. Subscriber numbers are not good. If you have something that stands out, it's actually good. But if it's hard to remember, then it's not good. So you definitely want to get something that, I guess, speaks about, has a tie-in to your channel, so that it actually helps them to remember it, but not necessarily make it so complicated that it's going to be forgetful. I don't know if you have any advice to that.
Yeah, just be careful. I know. So Steve from Boston's name used to be Pixie Licks, and the fact that he had 3 X's in his name actually made it so that he got caught many times by other things. There's a car YouTuber I follow who has steadfastly stuck to the name Car Pervert.
Okay.
And it's you want your name to at least be very open. Like
friendly.
A thing that embraces and brings people in.
Yeah.
And so I think anything that can be more of that. I think Addicted to Gear, perfect. You know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Right? Nick in the States, you don't, but at least it's somewhat memorable for like, it's that guy. It's a name that can somehow stick. In the Blues for Shane, or Aggie Fish. Aggie Fish is one of those like, oh, that thing, the guy.
The guy, yeah.
But once you know him, it kind of it sticks. It kind of goes there.
Yeah. So just a question for you, Nick, very quickly. Who's your who's the YouTuber you watch mostly these days? Who's catching your attention? And not necessarily for gear. It could be for anything.
Yeah. So I watch less and less guitar stuff, although Music is Win is a guy that I stumble across a lot. He does great stuff. I mean, he's really good. Daryl Braun Guitar.
Mm-hmm. I know him.
Wow. First of all, great following. I'm happy to see, because he puts on a really good video, and he has such a good voice as he's talking about the guitar.
That's true.
It's so perfect diction and whatever, but an enthusiasm for cheap gear. A lot of my stuff on that side is cheap gear stuff.
Fellow Canadian, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Andy the Guitar Geek. Shane from In the Blues is definitely one I watch a whole lot. Shane's an awesome dude. He's really, really
Absolutely,
great.
yeah.
So in the guitar space, it's mostly those guys. I used to watch religiously everything that Anderton's put out, and I think I overdosed for a while.
Okay.
But I do like Lee and Pete now, even maybe more. Because I overdosed, Lee and Pete is a fresh take than Lee and Chapman.
Yeah.
So I like that. But the problem with Pete is he plays more like stuff I want to play, but he's still so damn good that I can't.
Absolutely.
He makes it look too easy.
Yeah.
And then I watch a lot of car stuff. So B is for Bill does a lot of it's like car projects and rebuilding stuff because it reminds me that I never would be successfully be able to do any of those projects. So kind of to be in awe of what they do, but also to appreciate how the YouTube-ness of it all helps them, whether it's sponsorship, the revenue, the things, and the collaborations that they do.
Yep.
If there's a Tovarish, Hoovie's Garage, VinWiki just did a big thing that was like Top Gear. And I watched that, a million plus of us watch every one of those episodes, because it was like the old media way of doing things, but with people that you feel a closer connection to because it's YouTube. You're there every week. They comment. You see them doing things.
Right.
You've grown with their successes in a much more transparent way. And that's the new media that makes these things cool. I watch Netflix sometimes, but 80% of my screen watching is YouTube.
Me too. Same.
It's my TV. And I don't have, we ditch cable, so I don't like flip through channels and find stuff anymore. I watch the stuff, or I'll go like, I'm looking at retiring in Thailand and the cost of that. That's been my rabbit hole the last week just because I'm stuck inside. I can't go anywhere. I'm not retiring to Thailand. My wife would hate it there. But I know how much it costs, where to go, different parts, different condos, what a thing costs. I have 3 couples I like following their lives there. That's what's cool about YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. I have no more patience for watching TV. I just I want to watch what I want to watch and not what's just out there. So whenever I'm watching TV, I'm like, no, I can't watch TV, like regular TV. Movies I don't mind, but regular TV, no, I can't do it anymore.
What about you? What do you watch on YouTube?
YouTube, I watch a variety of different things. I like Rick Beato is amazing. I love his stuff because the guy's an encyclopedia of music, and he's really. I still don't understand a lot of the stuff that he's talking about, but he has a really great way of trying to describe it. And
he's super legit, and that's the neat thing about him is the stories, the knowledge, everything else is coming from like.
Yeah, he walks the walk, he talks the talk, and he can break it down, and there's no bullshit there. So he's really great, and I like the fact that he's not like selling anything, and he's not afraid to play songs and like get his stuff demonetized, because at the end of the day, that's not what he's after, and he's doing really well. I think 1.5 million followers last time I checked.
It's been a rocket ship too.
Oh,
like,
amazing!
Really
Amazing. So I like his stuff. I like Big D Guitars. I don't know if you follow him at all.
I don't know that one.
Big D Guitars is a fellow who just spends all his videos are basically him dyeing guitar bodies and doing the burst thing and popping the grain and everything. And he's amazing at it. He really knows how to do it. And it's like it's just one of those things. It's like a drug for me. I like watching other people do it, so I don't have to do it necessarily.
Well, it's like the car things. I don't have those skills or patience.
No,
I appreciate it.
That's it. I'll check out the Anderton stuff from time to time, but I find that it's become too commercial now. I liked it better before, where it was a little bit more raw and anything could happen. And now it's.
He was doing the like quarantine jam of the whatever.
Yeah.
Those were fun. Actually, that's where I was playing through the bias, the Spark amp was jamming along with Pete playing that and kind of running through, and I'm like, this is great. I like this.
Yeah.
It's like I can get it.
I relate to that, and anything from Phil X. If Phil X is on a video somewhere, I'm watching it because the guy.
I was supposed to be at an event that Phil. I've got some friends that have been in the circles with Phil X too, and I was supposed to be at an event that he was going to be, and I couldn't go. And that was probably my biggest bummer because I mean he cranks it up a little bit. Or a lot. Some of the Fred Americana stuff from back in the day, or seeing him on the rig rundowns and any of the stuff he does. But when you listen to him talk in regular like interviews and stuff, he's also just a really good human being.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like sweet, empathetic.
He seems to be.
Play his ass off.
Yeah. It's almost.
Did you see that there's a documentary which was basically, I forget the name of it. It was like all sidemen and that kind of stuff. And Phil X was in it with a lot of other people. It was like backing band and people part of the band, but not whatever. And it was cool to see him get his due, but also like what the limitations is like. I still never been on an album. I never ask.
Yeah.
We do the thing, but it's always I forget the guy who's the rhythm guitarist and the producer.
Phil X has a video
So-
out on stage. I don't know what it's called. I just stumbled across it, where he's doing like a mashup of a whole bunch of like Led Zeppelin tunes and classic rock tunes, one after another. And dude, he just, I don't know. He's like an encyclopedia of like, he's like a jukebox of music, this guy. And he's like, I don't know how many hours he spends practicing his craft, but he's like, you know, he could just play anything, and he's a killer singer. I actually heard
I was gonna say, he's got a pretty damn good voice too.
Yeah.
You know who else? Speaking of good voice, you know who has a great voice and you'd never know it is Matt Sorum, formerly of Guns N' Roses. I saw Billy Gibbons' blues band play, and he's the drummer for Billy Gibbons' little touring blues outfit when I saw it. And they busted out either Communication Breakdown or something from Zeppelin, and he sang. And I was like, damn.
Amazing. Eh? Yeah, a lot of these guys you don't know. So it's like, but it's that's basically who I watch, and I'm always stumbling across new people. I wish YouTube would change the algorithm, because they end up like giving you always the same stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like there's so much more that you can find. You just have to dig.
Blank of his name, Tim Pierce.
Yeah, Tim is great.
Tim is great because it's just it's a recurring theme of removing speed bumps. When you watch his setup, and that's why I like my current thing now, and it's the real hobo version of that. There you go, old Menza, of the Tim Pierce rig, because I can just grab a guitar, I've got a chord, and I got everything. Because it's just tip, 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 and suddenly he's ripping over whatever song he's throwing down leads for, and then playing 6 different leads he just did, and how he's looping and coming back and choosing the thing.
Yeah.
It was a reminder of, like, it doesn't have to be quite as hard as we sometimes make it.
Yeah.
Just relax and play. And he's so eloquent and sincere again.
Absolutely.
And seems like a dude, you can tell why he's been successful in the industry, because he seems really easy to work with.
Exactly.
Like a guy that you would hang out with in a heartbeat.
Yeah, there's no, like, even though he's played on everything, he doesn't, you know, he's very down to earth about it. And same with Pete Torn, you know, like Pete's great.
Pete's great too.
He seems great.
I like
too.
his videos, and he's done everything right. He's got every right to be a pompous ass about it. He's not.
I'm just surprised that Pete doesn't have more followers. I looked at his, how many followers, and it's like, man, the guy's great, and he does great content. He has great guests. He's in with Steve Stevens and Friedman and all these great guys, and John Suhr, and so he's got great guys on his show, but he's still not. I don't know why he's not getting more content.
You know who else? Like, for my, once again, who I would want to be when I grow up is Paul Davids.
Oh yeah.
He's got a good-looking guy, but he has the voice.
He's suave.
I can't even he's very suave. He's very good.
Yeah.
But then his playing is the personification of, like, his personality, and plays. Obviously, he's put in a tremendous amount of work.
Yeah.
But like his Mayer stuff or his things, and his tone is always so good.
Yeah.
And he's able to, very lyrical guitarist, very cool player. But he's so damn smooth.
He is.
Or like did you ever see Mike Bradley?
Yes.
Make him blush. Mike Bradley's on a live stream with nice guy. But he's like the Aldous Snow of the guitar YouTube community. Where, like, that smooth rock star. My wife walks in and she goes, "Okay, so there's 5 guitar dorks on this live stream right now. Who's the
who's that guy?"
That's Mike Bradley.
It's true. It's absolutely true. Yeah, and Paul Davids.
But he's a really nice guy. He's been really funny, good, affable guy. But he's just, you're like, yeah, that guy's got it going on that way too. Go for
Absolutely.
It.
And Shane, of course, Shane is like, I've been watching Shane forever. But Paul Davids, one of the things I really appreciate about his videos is how well they're filmed. Like, if you realize, like, it's
class act cameras, the lenses, everything, the lighting,
everything. You have and
he doesn't have a huge space where he's often in. So he's doing amazing stuff. This is inside baseball, but amazing stuff with a very minimal rig setup and lighting. But it's always just like, oh, hey, I just saw you at my house. Let me show you a few things.
Exactly.
And it's like thoughtful, scripted, insightful, but never comes off that way. It's great. I love Mary Spender, and like
she's great too. Yeah,
great player, cool voice. My favorite, where I really realized how much I enjoyed her personality, was when she guested in Frog Leap Studios for Sultans of Swing.
Okay.
And she came in with a little cheekiness to her, but how she did it, whatever. And then she left, and I'm like, she'd be a good person to hang out with, like like really, really cool.
Absolutely.
My daughter was. Because it's all dudes. It's all dudes in Nita Strauss, right? Like in the guitar world, online.
True.
Or the other thing is, it's also some other very talented players, but are so attractive that's why they get a billion views.
Yeah.
There's a young French lady who plays Guns N' Roses, Night Train, rips all stuff, but a lot of she's also quite an attractive young lady. But Mads came in, and not to say that Mary Spender's not attractive. She's beautiful as well. my daughter came in and she's like, "Who's this?" She's like, "Oh, I didn't realize like other girls that like aren't dressed like Nita Strauss,
Right,
hard
right.
rock leather to the thing." Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm gonna do that too then.
I like that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that's
Yeah,
what's
yeah.
neat about that. And she can sing, she can play, and she's
Sure.
very humble. Her 24-hour live stream, my God.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, and that was crazy. But I mean, yeah, they're not all dorks. I mean, they're not
Yeah.
so somebody said that Paul Davids is the James Bond of guitar YouTubers.
Oh yeah. What you don't know is he's an assassin by night, but
That's
he's a
funny.
guitar YouTuber by day. Yeah, I can believe that.
That's funny. That's absolutely funny. Well, Nick, I think we're gonna wrap it up, man. We've been going on for like almost 2 hours, and I think it's overkill for the first show. I think we can go on for another 2 hours if we really wanted to. So,
But we should try and do this semi-regularly. Someone was suggesting, and maybe we can switch off whose channel we host it on, and
I'm game for that.
It's an easy format. The time frame works for me.
Absolutely.
Usually on the average Sunday. It's nice content, and it allows. I think we were north of 50 for some of it for users, and I think if we can get on this,
Sure.
I don't see a lot of other people in this slot
Yeah.
as well, which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
nice. Friday night, you're like, oh, everybody's at 12 different things.
Exactly. No, I agree with you. I'm in. Mark me down. Yeah, sure.
Cool.
And if we can get a couple of other YouTubers that want to join in, that would be even more fun. I mean,
Definitely.
I'd be doing this anyways, even if, regardless. So,
For sure.
so I'm just gonna recap in case you guys tuned in late. So Nick in the States, check out his channel. Nick's been doing this for quite a while. Somebody's asked us how long we've been doing YouTube. Well, for me, I mean, not like as a professional thing or anything. I mean, this is still for fun, most of it anyway. Getting close to 10 years since I posted my first video, but I don't know about you, Nick.
About 5.5 years, yeah, since
Okay.
mine.
Yeah, I've only been getting serious about it in the last couple of years or so. So it's, but it's an ongoing thing. But just wanted to say, so check out Nick in the States. Go on his channel. He's got a lot of really cool content, a lot of variation of gear, whether it's expensive or budget or chipsins or whatever. But he puts out some really good content. So I think you guys want to definitely subscribe to his channel. And then if any of you guys are new to my channel, please feel free to come by and check me out and see if you like it. And if you
Click
do,
that subscribe button, click the
Yeah.
little belly thing, know what Tony puts up. Tony, thanks for having me. It's great to go on here. It's been great. We've become friends over the last couple of days on just long conversations like
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
And just start
yeah.
to go down. And that's what's awesome about this, right? This is the wonderful thing. People are like, YouTube, it's competitive, right? I'm like, no, not in our corner.
not really.
It's about embracing the
Yeah,
different
yeah, yeah.
people that are out there. It's awesome.
No, for me, it's mostly just making friends and making a nice community and being able to share the same kind of similar interests. So I think,
Old Man Zen keeps getting multiple zings from my hobo office set up there. He says you should go to Nick's. He also has a carpentry channel, teaches you how to transfer household items into computers. Well played, good sir. Well played.
so it could be Nick in the States / this old house kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all cool. It's all fun. So next time we get together, maybe we'll bring up more of the gear. Like today was more just general conversation, but I'm sure we have a lot of stuff that we can show and keep the good people that are interested in checking out the gear and answering more questions interested. So we appreciate your support, guys. We appreciate your lovely comments, and we're looking forward to doing this again real soon. So please stay tuned to both of the channels. There'll be more great stuff coming your way. Nick, thank you very much for taking the time out of your
Thanks,
busy
Tony.
schedule, and we'll do this again real soon. All right.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Take care.
All right. Have a good Sunday, everybody. See you soon.